I chose to play the game. It didn't choose me. Sure, things weren't always easy. Fighting, school, drugs, but the game taught me the fundamentals of life. Honesty, teamwork, trust. I knew drugs, even weed, would get in the way. Football, my anti-drug. Now I'm the teacher.
The creators of That 70s Show return to a different time.
Okay. Party.
When girls just wanted to have fun.
Can I have a gin and something pink, please?
And boys were more than happy to oblige.
You don't want to be dating a bisexual. Unless you want to wake up some morning, find yourself in bed with two ladies.
That 80s Show series premiere at 8/7 Central, Fox, Wednesday.
You got one too?
Yeah, the connection's great. It's only $8 a minute. In just 2 weeks, it's a tribute to America as Super Bowl 36 kicks off on Fox. With live performances by U2, Paul McCartney, No Doubt, Mariah Carey, Mark Anthony with Mary J. Blige, the Bare Naked Ladies, along with a very special performance featuring the Boston Pops. It's the Super Bowl 36 pregame show, February 3rd at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific, right here on Fox.
Fox Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
For the NFC East champion Philadelphia Eagles, quarterback Donovan McNabb has regained his magic touch of a year ago, and a stifling defense looks dominant once again. In Chicago, past meets future as Brian Urlacher leads the new Monsters of the Midway. Today, they hope to take the next big step towards playoff glory. It's the Eagles and the Bears next as the NFL's second season continues. Football has returned to Soldier Field in Chicago, and it might as well be 1985 again, the year the Bears won it all. It has been that long since the frenzy over this team has been at such a fevered pitch. And this afternoon, the NFC Divisional playoff between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears. The wind chill now 18 degrees. It was clear early, but now we have overcast skies as we move into the late afternoon, and it should be an exciting scene here in Chicago. The winner moves on to the NFC Championship game, and for the loser, it's his last game. Dick Stockton along with Troy Aikman and Darrell Johnson. And Moose, the Eagles allowed only 8 points a game on the road this year. How do the Bears get on the board against this team?
Well, this Bears offensive unit has been overshadowed all season long by the strong play of their defense. But the Philadelphia Eagles cannot lose track of the fact that they have 2 main playmakers in this group. Marty Booker became the first Bears wide receiver to have 100 catches in a season, and Anthony Thomas is the NFL's offensive rookie of the year. But the key will be that big offensive line of the Chicago Bears. They are a big, athletic, physical group, and they outman a smaller, undersized Philadelphia front across the board.
And they have an outstanding defense, and that's why everyone thinks this is going to be a low-scoring game. And Troy, the Eagles coming off a big win over the Buccaneers, how do they get by Chicago today?
Well, if you look at this Eagles team, the one thing you know is that the Eagles defense is going to play great. They have all year. So what that means is this comes down to how well the offense plays, which essentially is how well does Donovan McNabb play. He has been outstanding. He's coming off 2 of his best games, particularly the last ball game in the playoff against Tampa Bay. He's playing with a great deal of confidence right now. In fact, this entire Eagles football team is playing with confidence. And in talking with Troy Vincent, the cornerback for this football team, he said that they enter this game with a humbled confidence, which in essence means that last year in the divisional game, they were humbled in the loss against the New York Giants. They feel that coming into this game, they have the playoff experience, that they know what it takes in order to get through this ball game, and we'll find out here real shortly.
And it is a homecoming for Donovan McNabb of the Eagles, and for more, let's go down to Pam Oliver.
All right, Dick, Donovan McNabb got 35 tickets for this game. His mom, Wilma, handled the distribution of those tickets this way. She stood up in her church here in Chicago, made an announcement that any potential recipients recipients had to be Eagles fans. Well, Donovan's way of keeping distractions to a minimum, just disconnect. Turned off his cell phone, turned off his pager, wouldn't accept phone calls at his hotel room after a certain hour. Dick, he did not want anything affecting his focus. Back to you.
He is focused, and this will be his first start at Soldier Field. Came off the bench a couple of years ago, and of course he was a quarterback for Mount Carmel High School on the south side of Chicago during those days. The Eagles will get the ball first, so Donovan McNabb will show his stuff first. Eagles winning the toss, and they will receive. Paul Edinger will kick off for the Bears. And back deep for the Eagles, Kevin Mitchell and Damian Douglas. So Mitchell and Douglas are back. Brian Mitchell, one of the top kick return people in NFL history. And we're underway. And the kick retrieved by Mitchell. Brian Mitchell turning the corner, and the Bears cover him down at the 22-yard line. Ahmad Merritt making the play. So the Philadelphia Eagles going on offense, and a solid offensive line sparked by Trey Thomas and John Runyon, their two tackles. James Thrash and Todd Pinkston on the wide receivers. Deuce Staley, the running back, and Chad Lewis, the tight end, has been the go-to guy for Donovan McNabb through the air lately. From the 22-yard line, in motion goes Lewis, and passing on the first play, and it's Thrash underneath, and a minimal gain out to the 25. For the Chicago Bears, who gave up the fewest points in the league. The strengths, Keith Traylor and Ted Washington. The free agent acquisitions paying huge dividends. Arguably, perhaps the best linebacking core in the NFL, keyed by Brian Urlacher in the middle. And an underrated secondary with McQuarters, Harris, Brown, and Parrish.
Well, they just started out with an empty set, Dick. Nobody in the backfield.
And McNabb completes the pass. And it's a first down for the Eagles to Freddie Mitchell, who has emerged as their #1 draft pick out of UCLA. Mike Green, the nickelback, makes the tackle.
Is they like to come out and show a lot of different formations and a lot of different personnel packages. They started out with a 2-wide set and a tight end. They come back with an empty backfield set. Are able to get the ball into Freddie Mitchell's hands for the first down.
2 wide receivers to the left, and it's a running play. Deuce Staley, who's been doing more of receiving lately than running, picking up a couple of yards with Holman and Daniels on the tackle. Pickup of 2.
And Andy Reid cannot become one-dimensional in this game, and he said the area that he wants to attack is the outside shoulders of Ted Washington and Keith Traylor. He does not want his guys banging heads all day against those big men.
Eagles winning the NFC East first time since '88. There are those 2 behemoths in the middle. 2nd down and 7. And here is Staley turning the corner off to the left side, and a big gain going out of bounds, and he may have another first down at the 44-yard line of Philadelphia.
And this is what they're going to have to do to have success, is get the ball to the outside shoulders of Keith Traylor and Ted Washington. You can see right here as they step out and seal. But now the key is to get a man on Brian Urlacher, and Hank Fraley was able to get up to that second level, slow his pursuit down, and then a nice job by Freddie Mitchell on the outside.
Yeah, it's important that they get Deuce Staley untracked. He has struggled somewhat in the past 7 ball games, only carrying the football for a 2.6 average. He's going to have to run the ball a lot better than that today against his football team.
And he lines up wide to the left. There is Staley on first down at the 44. McNabb getting away from trouble and going around Philip Daniels and picks up good yardage. So there again is where Donovan McNabb wreaks havoc with opponent defenses. He gets 7 on that play.
Well, and what they wanted to do, the Chicago Bears defensively, if McNabb was going to get outside contained, they wanted to force him to his left, which is exactly what they do. You got Philip Daniels chasing him down, but not until after Donovan's able to get a big game.
2nd down and 3. Those are Donovan McNabb's rushing yards, counting for more than 75% of this offense. The Eagles in Bear territory at the 49. McNabb getting time, and the pass caught by Thrash, who picks up an extra 5 yards to the Bear 35-yard line, where Green makes the tackle, a pickup of 14.
Well, this is going to be the key thing, is getting these short underneath passes completed, getting some confidence to Donovan McNabb. And right here you see just a simple hitch route by James Thrash.
Yeah, and you watch the protection. One of the things, when you're trying to contain a quarterback, you're not as inclined to come after him with a full rush. And so as a result on that play, Donovan had the time to sit in the pocket and deliver.
Eagles mixing their plays impressively. Play action to Buckholder, and the pass going out to Terrell Buckholder. And the rookie from Nebraska, who scored on a 25-yard touchdown run against Tampa Bay, picking up 4.
And I thought it was very interesting to hear Michael Strahan talk about how he played when he played against the Philadelphia Eagles, and kind of mimicking your point, Troy. You don't want to take away from your aggression, worrying about where Donovan McNabb is in the pocket. You've got to play your style. And he had tremendous success when he played against the Eagles both times this season.
8th play of the drive coming up. And a balanced offense for Andy Reid's Eagles. 2nd down and 6 on the Bear 31. Deuce Staley breaks a tackle, still on his feet, and gets close to the sticks near the 25, and he may have a 1st down. Finally brought down by Brian Urlacher.
Well, again, that's the off-tackle run that they want to use. They ran it earlier, as Moose mentioned, and again, they're able to get Deuce Staley the football deep in the backfield, allow him to pick his holes as to where he wants to run. And last week in the ball game against Tampa Bay, I don't know that I've seen Deuce Staley run any harder than what he did in that ball game, and it looks like he started out again in this one running just as hard.
1st and 10 at the 25. And James Thrash is lining up as the setback, and a timeout is called by the Eagles. So Thrash lines up as a tailback, but it's not the Bears who call a timeout, it's the Eagles. This team has won 7 of its last 8, but facing an Eagle first drive that is impressive. 1st and 10 at the 25. Buckholter, and again play action. The rush on McNabb, he gets rid of it, and trying to go to the 2nd tight end, Jeff Thomason, incomplete. And it was Warwick Coleman who came storming in on McNabb.
Well, they're able to get pressure up inside. Warwick Coleman, you see him right there, number 53, coming unblocked, is able to get pressure. And you can tell right there, the thing that teams have had trouble doing is they've had trouble bringing McNabb down. They're getting hands on him, but yet he's still able to keep his throwing arm free to get rid of the football. And right there, he almost gets a completion.
2nd and 10 on the 25 of the Bears. Nearly a 5-minute opening drive, and the pass up the middle to Deuce Staley, and Staley gets within a yard and a half of another 1st down. It was Coleman and Urlacher in on the play, so the Eagles continue to march against this vaunted Bear defense.
You see John Runyon down there at the pile at the end of the play, and one of the things that Brian Urlacher talked about was the fact that these linemen will be coming downfield trying to take a cheap shot at you when the play's finishing up. You see how long he's coming in, John Runyon. Here he comes, big number 69 right there. An old saying in football, you don't want to be standing around the pile when you got guys like John Runyon on the field.
3rd down and 2 on the 17, well within the range.
Nobody in the backfield, Dick.
And 5 men go out as receivers, and this pass blocked. It was Mitchell and Chad Lewis were both within a yard and a half of each other, and it was Freddie Mitchell who had the chance to catch the touchdown pass.
Well, a little poorly designed right there offensively. You've got 2 guys basically running to the same spot. You got Chad Lewis and Freddie Mitchell, and Mike Brown is right there in position to maybe be able to make a play on that. And even having said, Freddie Mitchell might have had a shot on it as well.
So David Akers, who connected on 17 field goals in a row during the course of this year. This will be A 34-yard attempt, and this kick is good. So the Eagles controlling the clock and getting on the scoreboard, taking a 3-0 lead over the Bears.
Television network. We greatly appreciate everything you do for our country.
And there are many of them here at Soldier Field. It is the first time since 1991 that there has been a playoff game. And that is all this city has been talking about, as Akers kicking off after the field goal and Autry Denson returning from inside the 5-yard line. And Denson, with a fine return, gets to the 25-yard line where Buckhalter knocks him out of bounds. A 22-yard return by Denson. So the Bears have gone on offense for the first time. The only team in the league that had these 5 starters intact for the entire year. Olin Kreutz and Big Cat Williams headed for the Pro Bowl. Rex Tucker with an injured calf is starting. Stanley Pritchett, the former Eagle, will be at fullback, as Damon Shelton has been suspended for 4 games. Marty Booker and Des White, the wide receivers, and Anthony Thomas, the rookie, who had a big year, and Miller going to the air, and it's deflected and nearly intercepted. David Terrell up the middle on a short pass, and Jeremiah Trotter trying to pick it off for the Eagles. Couldn't hold on. Defensively for the Philadelphia Eagles, Douglas Grassmanis, the former Bear, and with Hollis Thomas out, their best run defender. Grassmanis is in at tackle. Caldwell, Trotter, and Carlos Emmons, the linebackers. Outstanding secondary led by Troy Vincent, Brian Dawkins, also the free safety, with Damon Moore, who had 2 interceptions last week against Tampa Bay. Miller gets sacked inside the 20 by Rashard Cook. So they come from everywhere and everyone.
Well, that's going to be the key in how this Chicago Bear offense handles the pressure. And on that situation right there, Rashad Cook is going to come from the right side of your screen. Now, this is a running formation, and when the Chicago Bears go into a running formation, their 2 tight end package, he is going to counter with Rashad Cook, a 3rd safety on the football field.
And Jim Johnson will rarely run the same blitz twice in a game. Loss of 7 on the play. Bears worst in the NFL. Under 30% of their last 8 games, and they need 17 yards. Miller going back to the 10-yard line and passes, and it's caught by Marty Booker, but short of the first down by 3 yards. Tackle made by Caldwell and Trotter.
Well, this is a pretty good matchup here. Hugh Douglas working against Blake Brockermeyer, and Hugh Douglas trying to use his speed there to get in and get some pressure on Jim Miller. Jim just able to get rid of the football, and this is a nice job by Marty Booker finding a hole within this tough secondary of the Philadelphia Eagles.
And at least the Bears may not get really damaged by bad field position. Ed Maynard, who had a brilliant year with a great kick, sending Brian Mitchell back inside the 20. And Mitchell tackled at the 32-yard line. So the Eagles, with their second possession coming up, leading the Bears 3-0. In Chicago, Michael Jordan returning for the Washington Wizards and leading the way against the Chicago Bulls, his ex-team, 77-69. A double-double for Michael, 16 points, 12 rebounds. He's at his home in Highland Park with his children watching the game today, but now all the attention is on the Bears. Great how Michael said, look, go see the Bears. You can see me some other time. Donovan McNabb, 5 for 7 on that opening drive. The ball is at the 32-yard line, and the handoff to Deuce Staley. And the Bears, who are outstanding against the run, limit Staley to a gain of only 1.
John Runyon finishing another block.
He has been the most active lineman so far in this game, the right tackle for Philadelphia.
Well, you know, this is just going to be one of those types of games with the guys on the inside, you know, on the offensive and defensive line. It's, you know, that's the Bears' strength. And he takes his guy out and comes back in and going for a little bit more. So you better get used to that, because that's the style of John Runyon.
Second down and 9 at the 33. Former Tennessee Titan. McNabb getting a lot of time, can pick his spots, and his pass up the middle intended for Staley is incomplete. And now some shoving going on between Brian Urlacher and Deuce Staley. And I expect the guys will see a lot of that today.
Well, we'll see a lot of that. And Donovan missed him one here. He had an opportunity for Freddie Mitchell up the seam. You're going to watch him right here. Freddie Mitchell, he's working straight up the seam versus a cover 3 defense, meaning safety in the middle of the field. And as you can see, he's got all that area right there to throw the football. Than what Freddie Mitchell was able to right here, and Donovan just was unable to see him.
3rd down and 9. Again, McNabb with time, but he's hit from behind. Still on his feet, ad-libs, and finds an open receiver, James Thrash, who puts on the burner down on the sideline and is knocked out of bounds. So again, Donovan McNabb with his elusive ability and his strength befuddling defenses, and a gain of 43 yards with Parrish finally bringing Thrash down.
Well, that'll absolutely demoralize a defensive football team. They've got him contained right there. Roosevelt Colvin had an opportunity on him, and then they get him going back to his left, and he fires it to Thrash and finds him, and what should have been a loss winds up being a big gain.
So the Eagles are at the 24-yard line of the Bears, and you know if they have to settle for 3, those add up. The Eagles already over 100 yards. At the 24, Correll Buckhalter testing the middle of the line and picking up nearly 3. Joe Tafoya in on the play, undrafted rookie from Arizona, bringing up 2nd down and long. So the Eagles have effectively silenced this throng coming here to cheer the Bears with 5.5 minutes to go and totally dominating the ball.
Well, they did a nice job in their first series, getting the ball down in position to get a field goal. They've done another good job here moving the football. That's the way you get a crowd out of the game.
2nd and 8, and swinging out is Buckhalter. Correll Buckhalter knocked out of bounds, but the Eagles will pick up another 1st down at the 13-yard line. Harris on the play, and Buckhalter's been getting a lot of play late in the season for Philadelphia.
Well, Andy Reid wants to keep both of his running backs fresh, so you will see Correll Buckhalter, you will see Deuce Staley back and forth throughout the course of the game. And on that situation right there, they had Correll split out to the right side in kind of a wing set. They brought the blitz to the Philadelphia Eagle left side, so a good play call in that situation. Correll was able to get open immediately in the flat.
And it's been a long drought since the Eagles managed a rushing touchdown, which Buckhalter achieved last week against Tampa Bay. 1st down and 10 at the 13. And the pass out to Deuce Staley. And coming up to make the play, impressively, is R.W. McQuarters. So McQuarters making a play on Staley, and the Eagles lose a yard on the play.
Well, what the Eagles like to do is they like to get the ball into Deuce Staley's hands, and it doesn't always mean running the football. They throw the screen pass and they throw the swing passes to him like they did right there, and they equate that as a running play. You're going to have a hard time completing that swing pass and outflanking this defensive football team for the Chicago Bears. They have great speed with their linebackers running sideline to sideline.
So they should cover those outside plays. 2nd and 11, and the pass overthrown intended for the fullback Cecil Martin, and that'll bring up 3rd down. And guys, I think we both got the impression the Bears in their first playoff game maybe a little more tentative in talking with them as opposed to the Eagles, who are in their 4th playoff game and seem to have a head of steam going for them.
Well, I think so. I think you look at the Eagles, they had an opportunity to play last week in the wild card game. They got some of the playoff jitters out of themselves in that game. Right now, the Bears just have to try to relax. This is a big game for a lot of guys who don't have a lot of playoff experience.
Huge edge in this first quarter in ball control. 3rd down and 11, and the pass caught by 1st down by 2 yards. And so the Eagles preparing to send their field goal team on, and David Akers, who kicked a field goal from 34 yards out, will try to give Philadelphia a 6-0 lead.
We talked with Dick Sharon, and he said the playoff atmosphere down the stretch for the Chicago Bears football team, because they had to win out to win the Central. He hoped that would prepare them for what they were going to face this afternoon. Right now, they seem a little tentative.
23-yard attempt. And Akers kick good. So the Eagles taking a 6-0 lead with 3 minutes 22 seconds to go in the opening quarter.
Das 1988, der Fog Bowl, Chicago gegen Philadelphia.
Willkommen in Chicago, wo sich das Wetter jeden Moment ändern kann.
Und sie sehen, was alle sahen, nämlich nichts. Die dicken Nebelschwaden im Soldier Field erschwerten vor allem den Eagles den Durchblick. Angeführt von Quarterback Randall Cunningham vergaben sie zahlreiche Chancen zu punkten. Insgesamt 8-mal waren sie innerhalb der Chicago 30-Yard-Linie, doch am Ende sprangen nur 12 magere Pünktchen dabei heraus. Chicago gewann das wohl beste Spiel, das nie jemand zu sehen bekam, mit 30-12. Unterlag dann allerdings im NFC Championship Game den San Francisco 49ers.
Naja, wird interessant sein, das Video des Spiels zu analysieren.
Next weekend, look at film on it.
Miracle Mile at a high rate of speed in Michigan Avenue, and the Eagles leading 6-0 as David Akers kicking off, and it is a short kick. Autry Denson returning for the Bears, and he gets upended at the 34-yard line by Rashard Cook. Timeout on the field. We'll be right back.
Defense has given up yards. The thing that they've been exceptional at is that they've not given up a lot of points. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, their first two possessions, they're able to move the football down the field with great efficiency, but they had to settle for 2 field goals. And anytime a team on the road in the playoffs has to settle for field goals, that can come back and haunt them.
Well, the Bears were 3 and out in their first possession, and now the Chicagoans start from the 34-yard line. Jim Miller, the quarterback. 3 receivers line up to the right. The handoff to Anthony Thomas. And Thomas will be stopped for no gain and maybe a loss by Paul Grassmanis, the former Chicago Bears. Well, tomorrow the NFL postseason continues on Fox. The NFC Divisional Playoff. 2 of the NFL's best quarterbacks, Kurt Warner and Brett Favre. What a shootout that's going to be tomorrow.
Well, that's going to be a great game. You get a chance in the playoffs to match the 2 best quarterbacks in the game. It's going to be a heck of a ball game.
Second down and 10 at the 34-yard line. Jim Miller operating out of the shotgun, and the pass underneath to Marty Booker, who caught 100 passes. First Chicago Bear to do so, picking up 4 yards. And the middle linebacker, Jeremiah Trotter, brings him down at the 38.
And he's going to be key to this Philadelphia Eagles defense, not only in the run game, but also in the passing game, because this Bears offensive football team likes to throw the short crossing patterns in front to try and confuse coverage. So Jeremiah Trotter and the other linebackers will have to do a good job of passing those receivers off.
Ahmad Merritt, who was signed off the practice squad prior to the last couple of games of the year, lines up. 3 receivers, 3rd down and 6 at the 38. And the quick pass out to Des White. And White is stopped short about 1.5 yards from the first down, forcing the Bears to kick. And a good play by Mike Caldwell.
Well, what the Bears have tried to do here in this first quarter is when they've gotten into 3rd-yard situations, they've tried to throw it short of the first down marker and let their receivers go pick up the first down. That's not unlike what they've done all season long, but they've been unable to make them here in this first quarter today.
And there is a late flag thrown down, and the Bears kicking team going off the field, indicating that this penalty will be against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Personal foul.
costly penalty against Al Harris. And the Bears not only keep possession, don't kick, but they have a first down in Eagle territory at the Philadelphia 43.
Well, you saw Jim Johnson, the defensive coordinator. There's Andy Reid, the head coach, not at all happy. They stopped the Chicago Bears, forced them into a situation where they have to punt, and then because of the aggressiveness of Al Harris, they give him the first down.
Bears trying to get back in this game with less than a minute and a half to go in the first quarter. Bears 7-1 here at Soldier Field, but the Eagles were 7-1 on the road this season. From the 42-yard line, bursting up the middle, Anthony Thomas. And Thomas picking up 5. Emmons on the stop.
Defensive coordinator Jim Johnson talking about Anthony Thomas, that he is going to be the best running back that they have faced all season. He takes away Marshall Faulk because he says he's in a class by himself, but he says he's a great downhill runner, tremendous strength, and he will get stronger as the game goes on, and this Chicago offense loves to feature him and wear down their opponent in the second half.
Bears could not find a running back for years, including high draft picks, and they found one in Thomas. Second down and 5. Thomas, right tackle, and stop the yard short of the first down, which will bring up 3rd and 1. Mike Caldwell, the outside linebacker, again in on the play.
It's difficult for this defense to all of a sudden switch gears. They make the stop on 3rd down. They think they're going off the field. All of a sudden they have the personal foul on Al Harris. They're back on the football field. They haven't gotten back into their defensive rhythm right now, and Chicago's taking advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, you can feel the momentum shift after that penalty, and the last 2 handoffs to Anthony Thomas and his ability to run downhill, and now it looks like he's starting to get on track.
So that's what the Bears want to do, pound it, and that is the end of the first quarter with the score. The Eagles 6 and the Bears nothing. And this Fox NFL special will continue after these messages. Dick Stockton, Troy Aikman, Darrell Johnston, and Pam Oliver. The numbers heavily favor the Philadelphia Eagles, including time of possession. But here are the Bears with a 3rd down and 1 at the Eagles' 33-yard line and trailing by a couple of field goals.
And that penalty on Al Harris happened so late that the crew that we work with, a tremendous crew that we work with, can't even find it on film right now. So maybe even a bigger mistake than we would let on.
Leon Johnson into the backfield for the first time today at the 33-yard line. The handoff and diving for the first down is Johnson, and he appears to have enough. Leon Johnson, former New York Jet who hadn't played in nearly 2 years because of knee surgery, suffered in the opening game a couple of years ago, has just enough for the first.
Well, he's able to find just enough of a hole and stick his head in there and pick up the first down. Tough getting those yards in those situations, 3rd and short, all those bodies, but they were able to get enough push up front in the offensive line to get Leon Johnson the first down.
And a rare 3rd down conversion for the Bears, but they only needed a yard that time. So they're on the 31-yard line of the Eagles. Anthony Thomas back in and gets the pitch up the middle. Thomas with good strength, great balance, picking up about 5 yards on first down.
Well, usually you see the bunch, you've got wide receivers, but you look at this group right there, those are tight ends and fullbacks, and that has got to be a key for the defense to know that there's a big counter coming out the backside. One of the plays that the Chicago Bears love to feature in their run game.
Yeah, and the other thing is they ran at Hugh Douglas and Paul Grazmanis, and that's an area where they feel like they can have some success. They feel like the size of Blake Brockermeyer and Rex Tucker outweighs those smaller defensive linemen.
2nd and 5, and this time Thomas is tripped up and will pick up only 1 yard on the play. So the Eagles close down the run. They're missing Hollis Thomas, who suffered a broken foot running out for introductions against the Giants in the next to last game of the season.
And here's where the mismatch that we've been talking about comes up. You look at the size of the offensive linemen of the Bears versus the defensive front of the Eagles, and it's almost 20 pounds and 2 inches per man. So that will take its toll as this game goes on, and we'll see how these Eagles are able to stand up late in the game.
3rd down and 4 at the 25. The design rollout by Miller, going for Des White in a woefully underthrown pass. is intercepted by Damon Moore. Damon Moore, who picked off 2 Brad Johnson passes last week in the wild card game against Tampa Bay, picks this one off, and Jim Miller is holding on to his right arm and shoulder as he comes off the field.
Well, you're going to see what happens when there's an interception. The defensive players always look up the quarterback first. You see right there, looked like Hugh Douglas driving Jim Miller into the ground, and that appears to be his throwing shoulder.
Jim Miller coming back from Achilles tendon surgery and a hamstring pull.
Well, and here's the interception. Just a bad decision by Jim Miller. He had no chance whatsoever to get the ball in there to Des White. Damon Moore, as you mentioned, 2 interceptions last week, comes up with another big interception here.
And let's not forget the great play made by Damon Moore as Hugh Douglas wrestles Miller down.
Well, the thing about it is, Dick, is there's nothing illegal about what Hugh Douglas did. He blocked Jim Miller and took him to the ground.
Eagles on the 20-yard line get it back, leading 6-0. And Donovan McNabb with the short drop drills it, and that pass caught at the 30 by Chad Lewis. Maybe just short of the first down by a yard as they tend to Jim Miller on the bench.
Well, Chad Lewis, he has really gotten involved in this offense, especially over the last 2 ball games, but more over the last 5 to 6. And the first half of the season, he wasn't being utilized as much. The last few games, he's gotten 11 receptions. He's become more of a focal point within this offense, and it's really helped with the completion percentages for Donovan McNabb.
2nd down and 1, and here's Deuce Staley on the carry. And Staley driven back by Philip Daniels. And again, it appears that the Eagles are denied the first down, and that will bring up 3rd down and less than a yard. So the crowd now urging on the Bears defense as Jim Miller leaving the field. Shane Matthews, who started the season as the quarterback for the Chicago Bears in their opener against Baltimore before he got hurt in Game 2, starts to warm up. 3rd down and 1. McNabb's pass, and it is caught. 1st down, James Thrash. Talk about go-to guys down the stretch of the season. Thrash has been a big target, gets only 3, enough for the 1st down.
James Thrash, yeah, he's been a big part of this offense, and you see Jim Miller coming up into the tunnel. That's not good for Bears fans. The one thing about it, though, is that Shane Matthews has had an opportunity to play in some games this year, and he's won for this football team. So the football team has confidence that when he steps in, that they can still play at the level that they're accustomed to playing.
From the 33-yard line, here's Staley off the left side. Now cutting upfield, and Deuce Staley with an impressive run close to another 1st down. Ted Washington making the tackle, but at least a 9-yard pickup for Staley, who has 27 yards on 6 carries.
Well, one of the keys for the Bears defense today was going to be tackling, and right now to this point they have not tackled well. They've had opportunities to get people down on the ground for short gains, and Deuce Staley is one of the guys you have got to put a helmet on him. He is a big physical runner. You see him right there running through Ted Washington as he's pursuing down the line.
2nd down and 1 at the 42. And the Bears showing blitz, and the handoff to Staley. Staley's driven back to the 40 by Roosevelt Colvin. And right now, let's check in with Pam Oliver.
All right, Dick, here's the update on Jim Miller. He has a separated right shoulder. You saw him going into the locker room there. His return is questionable.
There's another look. Again, Hugh Douglas off the interception, looking up the quarterback and driving him into the ground. And
Miller suffering the separated shoulder, and Shane Matthews will be coming in the next time the Bears go on offense. Hugh Douglas, who led the Eagles in sacks this year. There is Shane Matthews, who suffered a rib injury and had to come out in the 2nd game of the year as the Eagles call a timeout, their 2nd. Acres, the Eagles lead 6-0, and after Philadelphia's 2nd timeout of this 1st half, it'll be 3rd down and 3 on the Eagles' 40. Cecil Martin, the fullback, the intended receiver, and that ball bounced 5 yards up the middle. So the Bears hold again, and when they get the ball back, we will see a new Chicago quarterback in Shane Matthews. So Sean Landeta will go back and punt for the Eagles. 17-year veteran. And the Bears will send back R.W. McQuarters and Leon Johnson. Big year for the 41-year-old veteran Landeta. Line drive kick. And McQuarters on the return. And he works his way up to the 31-yard line. So when we come back, Shane Matthews will go in and lead the Bears. The NFL playoffs continue. Winner of this game moves on to the NFC title game. The loser goes home, and Jim Miller with a separated shoulder giving way to Shane Matthews, who engineered the 2 dramatic overtime victories against San Francisco and Cleveland, handing off to Anthony Thomas on the pitch. Thomas going left. And Thomas picking up 7 yards on first down.
Well, Shane Matthews, he entered this season, a lot of people probably don't remember, but he entered this season as the starting quarterback for this team. He got hurt in week 2 against Minnesota with a rib injury, and that's when Jim Miller came in. But he's also gotten to play during the season. He had the 2 dramatic comebacks against the San Francisco 49ers as well as the Cleveland Browns. And so he is not a guy who has not seen game action. He'll continue to do the same things offensively as what they had projected to do with Jim Miller at quarterback.
Second down and 4 at the 37. Here's Anthony Thomas. Stopped 2 yards shy of the first down. Well, Sunday, February 3rd, tune in to Blockbuster's 19th annual All Madden show to find out who makes football's most prestigious team. Plus, see this year's Hershey's $1 Million Kick, where one lucky contestant will have the chance to win $1 million in front of a live audience. Blockbuster's 19th annual All Madden show begins at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific, February 3rd on Fox. Another aspect of Shane Matthews' season is that he was actually released for about 3 days in the middle of October for roster moves and then re-signed. Now 3rd and 2, and the handoff on the semi-pitch and stop before the first down sticks is Anthony Thomas. So now 4th down coming up, Brian Dawkins. Aggressive free safety coming in, and 4th down, and Brad Maynard will punt for the Bears.
People talk about Jim Johnson's defense and putting pressure on the quarterback in passing situations, but also in the running game, it's very disruptive. It all of a sudden takes you away from being aggressive. You have to look, you have to see where the guys are moving and shifting, and it really confuses you on your blocking assignments. And that was the situation right there, as it really clogged up the running lanes.
Maynard to kick it away, and Brian Mitchell deep. Another high, long kick. Mitchell will let it drop at the 10, and the Bears will down it. And it's going to be Larry Wiggum who's going to the Pro Bowl as tempers flare again. Larry Wiggum going to the Pro Bowl for his special teams playing. Hustles and knocks down the ball and downs it at the 6-yard line. We'll be right back. Back here at Soldier Field. Remember, we were here in the first game played after 9/11 when the Vikings were here, and a great scene on the field with the American flag, the service, and one of the most dramatic moments I know that we've experienced, responding with this great crowd at Soldier Field. Eagles begin from the 6-yard line. Deuce Staley going wide, driven back, and that was Tony Parrish. Strong safety and a loss of a yard, and Jim Miller walking back onto the field. And the crowd cheering Jim Miller's return. You know, he really is the people's choice. They had 3 quarterbacks, Cade McNown, the highly touted rookie, Shane Matthews and Miller, and the crowd, the fans here always like Miller.
Well, there's no question about it. He's the perfect quarterback for this city. They appreciate the blue-collar work ethic that he brings to this club. And when you talk about the Chicago Bears, rarely do you mention Jim Miller as being a focal point of this football team, but he has all the intangibles. The crowd's glad to have him back out on the field.
Remember, the report was he had a separated shoulder. 2nd and 11, McNabb incomplete as the ball bounces in front of Cecil Martin. Right now, let's get a report from Pam Oliver.
All right, Dick, you saw Jim Miller coming back out of the locker room. He was in there for about 15 or 20 minutes. His wife even came down into the tunnel area to try to get an update. He miraculously has recovered from that separated shoulder, apparently, or they've treated him well enough to the point he's going to try to get back in this game. Back to you.
Well, trainers can work miracles in playoff conditions.
Amazing when the wife goes down.
That's all you need. That's all you need. Jim Miller, by the way, was throwing outside the locker room, so Andy Reid, sensing here that the Bears defense wanting to snuff the Eagles, who now call their third timeout with 6:32 remaining in the first half. 6-0. Still, Eagles.
Is unable to hear the plays being relayed into his headset and his helmet. This crowd down here in the end zone is awfully loud.
Third and 11. Back in his end zone is McNabb. Eludes Daniels. Chased by Urlacher. Urlacher brings him down. Stays inbounds at the 13-yard line. And that will bring up fourth down. And so the momentum changing on two notes. The Bears defense and then Jim Miller coming out of the runway back to the bench.
Well, here's Brian Urlacher at the start. Just watch him on this play. This is amazing. He misses the traffic underneath. Look at how far away he is from Donovan McNabb at that point. There is the speed and the athleticism, the ability to close on a player that Brian Urlacher brings.
And a former safety, and Landeta gets off a kick that bounces and takes a Philadelphia hop to the 38-yard line, where it is down by the Eagles. And so the Chicago Bears will get decent field position. Urlacher making the big third down play. Let's take a look at the Chicago Bears, who won their first NFC Central title since 1990. Fewest points, won back-to-back overtime games, and their sack differential the best in the NFL at a +31. This is a team that was disciplined all year. They really didn't make mistakes, didn't take many sacks, and played a sound game, stayed in games, and won, even though they were hardly spectacular. Shane Matthews remains at quarterback for the Bears. Although Miller is back on the bench. Play action from the 38. And this pass should have been intercepted, it appeared, by Carlos Evans. And a flag is down. It was Mike Caldwell who went after Shane Matthews. Remember, we've already had a personal foul call against the Eagles. And now we're going to have a roughing the passer penalty.
Well, they got Mike Caldwell coming in, and I don't see what he did wrong there at all. You saw he was trying to pull up.
Roughing the passer, continue to drive him into the ground. 56, 15-yard penalty, first down.
He didn't drive him there. You can see him pulling up a little bit.
There was no drive into the ground whatsoever, and that's just a bad call. And I actually thought they were throwing the flag for intentional grounding. There was no receiver in the area of where Shane Matthews threw that one, and in fact, he was fortunate that it was not intercepted.
Because he never got outside the tackle box. I thought the same thing, Troy. I thought that was going to be intentional grounding on Shane Matthews.
Well, Evans, number 51, was the only player in the neighborhood, and he could not make the interception. Here's Jim Miller. See whether he gets back in eventually. Bears have not done much, and on the end around, Ahmad Merritt. Merritt with great speed, and Merritt, great spot. One man to beat, and that's Troy Vincent. And Merritt will go in. Touchdown, Chicago. From the practice squad, former University of Wisconsin receiver on this end around.
Well, I tell you what, this is a play that a lot of teams have had success with against this Eagles defense. Their aggressiveness and their pursuit to the ball leaves them susceptible to misdirections and gadget plays. Offensive coordinator John Shoup said he was going to carry about 5 of them into this game this afternoon.
Well, we've seen one, Moose, and Paul Ettinger looking to give the Bears the lead, and he does. So the Bears, who are dominated in ball control by the Eagles, Eagles, who managed only 2 field goals. A good point brought out by Troy, and now the 47-yard touchdown run on the end around, the first NFL touchdown by Ahmad Merritt, and the Bears lead.
Well, the guy that you would least expect is Ahmad Merritt, who just got picked up off the practice squad. A very fast player, great toughness. He gets an opportunity in a playoff game to run the reverse, and you can see Fred Baxter out leading the way, and Ahmad Merritt does a great job of following his blockers, staying to the outside, away from pursuit, and gets into the end zone.
Well, you had a great job by Olin Kreutz turning back on Mike Caldwell, and then as you pointed out, Fred Baxter down the field. But Ahmad Merritt made Bobby Taylor miss in space, and to have a run like that, eventually at some point, the ball carrier must make an unblocked guy miss the tackle, and that's exactly what Ahmad Merritt did.
And again, guys, it's the Bear defense that sparked it. They forced the Eagles into calling their 3rd timeout of the first half, and Andy Reid's got to be a little frustrated right now because the momentum's shifting into the hands of the Bears, and Donovan McNabb will have his chance on the stage momentarily. 7-6 in favor of Chicago with 5:29 remaining in the first half.
And that is the first touchdown scored against this Eagles defense in their last 3 playoff games. So you get into the red zone against them, they're tough. And maybe sometimes you want to go in from out near midfield because this is a stout defense. And last year in the Giants game, kickoff returns and interception returns were the reason.
Hey, Moose, this defense has given up only 5 touchdowns on the road all year. That's incredible. And the kickoff returned by Brian Mitchell, and Mitchell finding an opening is finally tackled, a shoe top tackle by Greg Jones. Television's biggest day kicks off with a star-studded Super Bowl pregame spectacular featuring live performances by No Doubt, Paul McCartney, Mark Anthony, with Mary J. Blige, Bare Naked Ladies, and a very special tribute to America featuring the Boston Pops. Join us for Super Bowl 36, Sunday, February 3rd at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific, right here on Fox. Eagles with a first down at the 31-yard line, and a play-action pass. McNabb, it's tipped, and it falls incomplete. Roosevelt Colvin got a hand on that one.
Well, Olin Kreutz had a key block to spring Ahmad Merritt, and then he finishes up by coming over and letting Hugh Douglas know about what he did to Jim Miller, the quarterback. So this is going to be a tremendous battle the rest of the day. Those offensive linemen, there's James Big Cat Williams coming in. They know that Hugh Douglas was responsible for that injury. They're going to be on him the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, and if anybody's going to get in the middle of a tango like that, it's going to be Olin Kreutz. He looks forward to those.
And there, as Moose mentioned, first touchdown allowed in the last 41 quarters. Here is McNabb getting away from the rush, escapes another defender and runs for the first down. And you know, when Donovan McNabb stopped being a pure pocket passer late in the year and again used his legs again, he really stepped it up.
Well, I think that early in the year he was wanting to prove that he could throw the ball from within the pocket. And here as of late, now he's doing what he does best, and that's getting outside and making plays with his legs. But Donovan is one of these quarterbacks who, just because he breaks contain doesn't mean that he's going to run. In fact, it puts the defensive players in a tremendous bind because he is always looking to pass the ball. The defenders have to make a decision. Do you come up to the line to take them, or do you stay off in pass coverage?
Troy Vincent just went into the locker room, the outstanding cornerback for the Eagles. McNabb, after the 14-yard run, has a first down at the 45. Terrell Buckholder, and they're going to whistle this play. A flag before the play got underway.
Delay of game. Offense. Right, this man. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
So a 5-yard penalty bringing up 1st and 15. And keep in mind, the Eagles have used all 3 of their timeouts with 4:38 to go in the half.
And if there's been any criticism of this offense here over the last 3 to 4 ball games, it's that, one, they burned their timeouts too soon, which again they did today. They have no timeouts left here in the first half. And then clock management. And that's Donovan's responsibility to get the play off before the 30-second clock runs down.
1st and 15. Deuce Staley off the right side, and then Staley picking up about 4 on the play. Brian Urlacher making the stop for the Eagles. We expected a close game, and we have it, a tight game, and we have that as well, a one-point affair.
Keith Traylor right there. You talk a lot about he and Ted Washington clogging up the middle, but they do a great job of getting down the line of scrimmage also. Those are two big guys, but let me tell you what, they pursue so well down the line of scrimmage to the ball carrier. They're not just in there to clog that middle up.
How about Traylor with a 67-yard run after the interception against Jacksonville? Underneath to Deuce Staley. Deuce Staley close to the first down at the 45 of the Bears. Walt Harris on the tackle. But the Philadelphia Eagles do have a first down as the clock continues to run. 3.5 to go in the second quarter.
Well, that's an element that Deuce Staley brings to this offense. He's got just about as many receiving yards as he does rushing yards. And Donovan McNabb has a lot of confidence in knowing where Deuce Staley is going to be on those checkdowns underneath and over the ball. And they like to get the ball into his hands in space and make people miss, which is what he was able to do.
First and 10 at the 45 of the Bears. And the Bears pointing and a flag going down. And another penalty will be marked off against Philadelphia.
Start, 72, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
See the Bears pointing at Trey Thomas.
Trey Thomas had one of those last week, and what happens is when you're playing on the road in a loud stadium, particularly a playoff game, those tackles have a hard time hearing the quarterback's cadence, and they're trying to guess as to when the ball's going to be snapped. Trey Thomas guessed wrong.
So it's the Eagles chalking up the penalties. Bears yet to commit one. Back to midfield, first and 15. Deuce Staley off the left side, and Staley picking up about 9 yards. McQuarters and Carl Powell, a backup defensive end, in on the play. So they get some of that back.
That was a nice design play, getting Chad Lewis out there in motion, and that quick toss getting onto the perimeter very quickly. James Thrash now doing a nice job coming down inside and getting a hit on Brian Urlacher. So a lot of different ways they're trying to get him taken away from that second level so he can't pursue.
Eagles still have the ball control edge, 2-1 in plays. Second and 8 on the 43 of Chicago. McNabb's pass is caught by Mitchell, but hit immediately. And down 3 yards short of the first down by Warwick Coleman.
Tell you what, people don't realize how fast these linebackers are for the Chicago Bears. Warwick Coleman, Roosevelt Colvin, of course we know about Urlacher. Just a very fast group. It's hard to get anything going with those underneath pass routes.
And a great front seven at that. 2-minute warning. We'll be back. 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Overcast and colder and windier in Chicago. Want to remind you, coming up on the Visa Halftime Report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris will have first half analysis of our game. And the Fox Sports ticker will keep you updated with up to the second stats. Playoff football returning to Chicago. And third down and 2 upcoming for the Eagles. Pitch going to Buckhalter, and Buckhalter trying to get the yardage, will be knocked back. He doesn't get there as R.W. McQuarters leading the charge. And fourth down coming up. Eagles shy by about a yard.
Well, watch John Runyon right here, the right tackle. He gets pushed back into the backfield by Roosevelt Colvin, which forces Correll Buckhalter to go wide and not get going downhill to try to pick up the first down.
And now they will go for it on fourth down and 1. At the 36-yard line of the Bears. McNabb, and he flips the ball, and it is caught by Jeff Thomason, and a first down at at the 27-yard line. So the 4th and 1 rollout, and Jeff Thomason, the former Packer who played in Green Bay when Andy Reid coached there, and the Eagles moved the sticks.
Well, sometimes the toughest pass to make is when you got a guy wide open. He has Jeff Thomason right there. Almost puts a little too much air under that one, but Jeff Thomason is able to pull it in. Nice catch.
40 seconds and no timeouts left for the Eagles on the 27-yard line, and this pass, and they rule it a catch inside the 15-yard line by Chad Lewis, as the Eagles have to hurry up and either stop the clock or get another play off, and they do stop the clock with 25 ticks remaining in the half.
Great catch by Chad Lewis. Not to be outdone by Jeff Thomason.
So the two tight ends involved in the last two plays.
Well, Chad Lewis just going straight up the field there and putting a little move. And he has got exceptional hands. We've seen over the last few weeks the catches that he's been able to make. Not a great throw right there, but an exceptional catch by Chad Lewis. And then you take a look at John Runyon here and Brian Robinson. A lot of conversation going on out there on the field today.
Well, everybody talks about playoff football, and some people will say that the game picks up its speed and intensity. I think the finality of the playoffs, and you're seeing that today, that there's so much more emotion that goes with this game, because if you lose, you're done for the year. So I think it's the finality of the whole playoff situation that creates this emotion.
2nd down and 10 at the 13-yard line. In motion is James Thrash, and here is McNabb. Stubbers stepping his way in the pocket. And now he fires, and all alone, sitting in the end zone for a touchdown, is Cecil Martin, the fullback. And he could not have been more separated from the rest of the defense. And the touchdown for the Eagles gives them the lead at 12-7.
We saw him do the same thing earlier in the ball game when he got the ball to James Thrash running around and buying time. You watch him here, Donovan McNabb moving around within the pocket, trying to find somebody open, is unable to find, and then he spots Cecil Martin down there in the end zone for the touchdown.
And the extra point by Akers is good, and the Eagles regain the lead with 14 seconds remaining in the first half, 13-7, and the big play was the 4th down pass from McNabb to Thomason with no timeouts left.
Well, that kept the drive alive, but you wonder why people say, hey, this is a one-man offense, which isn't entirely true, but Donovan McNabb being able to make things happen, buy some time with his feet, and a guy at quarterback that's not this mobile would never have been able to make a play like this and get this ball into the end zone for a touchdown.
And how about the fact that today one of the things they wanted to do was make Donovan move to the left. On that touchdown throw right there, he's moving to his left. And earlier in the game, the big throw to James Thrash, he's moving to his left. So he's proven everybody wrong. I'll roll everywhere and throw.
So what's the plan now for the Bears?
That'll be discussed at halftime, I assure you.
We don't want him right. We want him left. He finds Martin, who caught 2 touchdown passes during the season.
And you can't fault Chicago's defense for that. I mean, there's just no way to defense that. Cecil Martin, he's definitely going to be overlooked as one of the receivers, and he just does a good job of staying alive, finding a little area in the end zone where nobody's watching him.
So here are the Eagles, who had to settle for a couple of field goals with a couple of impressive drives in the first quarter, and now getting the touchdown with no timeouts left and seconds to go in the first half. David Akers will kick off. Denson and Johnson are back for the Bears. Autry Denson, it bounces off his hand at the 6. Denson will run out of bounds with 10 seconds remaining in the first half.
Well, we take another look. Here's Cecil Martin right here, the fullback, is where he lines up in the backfield. Keep an eye on him as to how he's able to leak down the field and get into the end zone. Then watch Donovan McNabb as he's working, buying himself some time. But as I mentioned earlier, always looking to throw the football, and just great pocket presence, great awareness by Donovan McNabb to get the ball and spot Cecil Martin for the touchdown.
Now, earlier we showed you that Troy Vincent, and it's going to be a moot point because they're going to kneel down and run out the clock. Troy Vincent went into the locker room with a groin pull. Al Harris, the nickelback, took over his position, so we'll be watching what happens to him. And that is the end of the first half with the score. The Eagles 13 and the Bears 7. This Fox NFL special will continue after these messages and a word from your. It'll be Shane Matthews, the quarterback for Chicago.
Well, and the thing about it is that Shane hasn't played in a game since the 9th week of the season. And in addition to that, in practice, he hasn't gotten a lot of the reps. So he's going to have to work himself back into game condition here in the second half in a hurry.
And what about the Bears' strategy against Donovan McNabb, Moose?
Well, he's kind of proven that there's really no way to contain him. I think they came in with a good plan, trying to force him to his left and not let him move to the right to make plays. But he's come out the left side and had most of his big plays moving to his left.
Okay, and there's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, right there. 3 for 3, 62 yards and a touchdown. So Donovan McNabb just continues to drive defensive coordinators crazy.
McNabb huddled up here. He is used to the cold. Of course, he played in a city championship game for Mount Carmel High School. And now in his first start back at Soldier Field, David Akers begins the second half, and Leon Johnson returning for the Bears. And Johnson brings it out to the 29-yard line. Taking a look at the halftime statistics, after one quarter, the Eagles had the big edge in the numbers, and they still do. 230 total yards.
Yeah, there's no question that the Eagles just dominated the first half. But if you look right here at the rushing yards, they were able to run the football, the Bears, like they had hoped to. But what's going to happen is they've got to get more production out of their passing game and make some plays and score some points. They're going to make something happen here.
So it's Shane Matthews in relief of Jim Miller. First down at the 29 with an empty backfield. Completes or incompleted pass to Baxter. First time they have gone to the tight end. Well, other than the end-around run by Ahmad Merritt, 47 yards, only 41 other yards for the Bears today as they line up no huddle on 2nd and 10. And the pass underneath on the crossing pattern. And that is a reception. Des White making the catch, but a minimal gain, bringing up 3rd and long. That was Jeremiah Trotter.
Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to change the tempo of the game here and get things going a little bit more offensively. John Shoup, the offensive coordinator, has a tendency to try to go to the no huddle to change things up. They've been a little bit sluggish there in the first half.
And Des White coming out. He was inactive in the last 2 regular season games with a hamstring pull.
And that's one of the things that I'm surprised hasn't happened more this year with these Chicago Bear wide receivers, because they come across the middle 6, 7, 8 times a game, and you're going in, and Jeremiah Trotter just put a big hit on Des White right there.
Yeah, Jeremiah Trotter and the rest of those linebackers told us yesterday they were going to be looking him up, and they certainly were there.
Dwayne Bates lining up to the right, replacing Des White on 3rd down and 8, and here is the pass. It's incomplete. Another crossing pattern. Booker, the intended receiver, and he's slow getting up. Booker is hurt back at the 40-yard line. The play was broken up by Rashard Cook. So Jim Miller goes down, and then Des White goes out, and now Booker.
Yeah, they bring the linebacker blitzes. Watch Shane Matthews, and he slides and is able to avoid the pressure. He delivers a nice pass here to Marty Booker. Marty doesn't drop very many passes, and you just hope that he's okay. This Chicago Bear offense is going to need his big play abilities if they're going to make the plays in the passing game that are going to be necessary.
Well, that's 2 back-to-back plays. You had Des White going out on the crossing pattern, Marty Booker going out on that. So right there, in 2 consecutive plays, you've just nicked up 2 of your wide receivers.
And you remember the Bears lost perhaps their deepest threat, the guy that stretched the defenses, in Marcus Robinson, who went out with knee surgery earlier in the year. So this has been a depleted receiving corps.
Well, here's a look at the hit on Des White by Jeremiah Trotter, and he barely is able to get his feet planted in the ground before Jeremiah Trotter is hitting him with a full load. And those receivers, as Moose mentioned, I'm surprised there hasn't been more of that throughout the season. And Des White, he doesn't got the grass in the face mask. It just doesn't look like he's all together there right now.
Well, this is a team that really avoided injuries. They stayed healthy, other than, as we said, Marcus Robinson. And now Booker gets shaken up. Miller is out. It's a matter of attrition for the Chicagoans. We'll be right back. He was hurt on injured reserve. Brad Maynard on 4th down punting, and Brian Mitchell. Mitchell with a return. And a flag goes down back at the 40-yard line as Mitchell is knocked out of bounds close to midfield by Mike Brown. But there is a flag down, and Mike Brown is also shaken up.
Mike Brown came across the field and put a huge hit on Brian Mitchell, and he's still on the ground.
Well, Booker is walking off into the locker room.
Holding 55 on the return team during the run back. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
And Mike Brown is writhing on the field right now. Quentin Caver was holding on the return. But this is getting ridiculous for the Bears.
Boy, that is a huge hit, face to face. One of the things about Brian Mitchell as a return guy, he's not a flashy speed guy. He is a big, physical return man. And Mike Brown had just a tremendous year as a safety for the Bears defense, one of the big hitters. And boy, what a huge collision on the sideline. Right
the Eagles are beating the Bears to the punch, pure and simple so far today in the physical department, and we knew it was going to be that kind of a game. And so Mike Brown knocked out, and Mike Green replaces him, and you can see handshakes from Mitchell. They're just playing hard-nosed football, are the Eagles.
Well, you see Big Cat Williams there, number 71, trying to get this offense going. He's talking to the troops, and he's the elder statesman of this crew, and made his first Pro Bowl this season, and trying to do everything that he can to get this team motivated and playing at the level that they know that they can play.
Only player on the roster the last time the Bears made the playoffs back in '94. So the Eagles with a 13-7 lead and a first down on the 28-yard line, and McNabb going outside to Cecil Martin, who caught the touchdown pass prior to the end of the half, and a gain of 6 yards. So it's been a banner year for the Eagles, first division title in 13 years. They allowed the second fewest points in the NFL, only 5 more than the Bears, and a 7-1 road record. Their only loss against the San Francisco 49ers. And so this team knows how to play on the road. Now they got playoff experience. Now they have things going their way. Second down and 5 at the 33-yard line. Deuce Staley cutting up the middle, and Staley will be halted 2 yards shy of the first down by Keith Traylor. That's Mike Brown under the towel. 2 interceptions in back-to-back games sparked the much talked about overtime comebacks by the Bears, and their 2 big tackles, Traylor and Washington, go out. 3rd and 2. There's Mike Green, who replaced Mike Brown. Staley will go in motion, and McNabb's pass tipped, and it's intercepted, and it's Jerry Azuma, and he's going to go in. So just when you're ready to say the Bears may be hibernating for the rest of the year, they make a big play. And it was a defensive touchdown, their 6th of the year.
Well, you take a look, Donovan McNabb trying to get the ball in there. R.W. McQuarters looked like he might have gotten a hand on it, and then Jerry Azuma there for the deflection. And this is a defense that has been living off the turnover all season long and taking advantage of the opportunities they've had.
38-yard return by Jerry Azuma, tying the game. And Paul Ettinger gives the Bears the lead. So Donovan McNabb with the interception, and the mistakes and the penalties have hurt, and a big play. The second big play, this one on defense for Chicago, and they lead Philadelphia. Jerry Azuma, who intercepted 1 pass in the regular season, with a 39-yard return, and the Bears lead 14-13. So their amazing year hangs in there with a 1-point lead. There are a lot of doubters about the Chicago Bears, and we have plenty of time to go. We're early in the 3rd quarter, but maybe the best offense for the Bears is their defense, as Paul Ettinger short. And Brian Mitchell, who had a good return the last time and knocked Mike Brown out of the game, gets into Bear territory before he goes out of bounds at the 48, and now he keeps going, and he ran right into Paul Ettinger.
Well, if he's going to lay Mike Brown down on the sideline, you know that Paul Ettinger doesn't have a whole much of a chance right there. And that is Brian Mitchell in the return game. He is a physical runner when he has the ball on either a punt return or a kickoff return, and they have found something to that left side in their kickoff returns.
Ettinger will think twice before he tries to get in there on another tackle.
Boy, Mitchell led with that right shoulder. First down in Bear territory. Deuce Staley trying to get some rushing yards. First gets hit by Zuma, and now Staley, late flag. Harris, a late flag indeed. And this one will go against the Eagles. They've been a little careless in the personal foul department today, Troy.
Yeah, well, that was Deuce Staley. Looks like they're going to get him on a hold.
Holding, 89, offense, 10-yard penalty, replay first down.
Well, and here's the penalty on Chad Lewis, number 89, right there, getting a hold of Warwick Holdman. It looked originally like they were going to call Deuce Staley. He was out of bounds, and he took a shot at Walt Harris when they were on the sideline out of bounds.
But the Eagles self-destructing on penalties after the holding call, puts the ball back in Philadelphia territory. First down and 20, McNabb, and his pass incomplete going to Chad Lewis. And let's send it down to Pam Oliver. She's busy today.
All right, Dick, an update on this Bears rash of injuries. Receiver Marty Booker has a separated right shoulder. He is being evaluated. Des White is said to be fine. Mike Brown, a mild concussion, temporarily out. He may return, though, today. Back to you.
A laundry list of injuries as you look at Mike Brown and Booker with the separated shoulder. Brown wants to get back in there.
And the good thing about that is you see that Mike Brown does not have his helmet with him. They will take your helmet away from you when you have a concussion, so you can't get back on the field.
James Thrash in the backfield, and the play fake to him. McNabb looking for running room or a passing lane, and he drops the pass. Tom Pinkston was open at the 35-yard line, and it came right out of his hands.
Well, on the play right before that, Dick, Donovan McNabb had a shot at Chad Lewis and did not deliver him the football. Here, Donovan has Todd Pinkston, who throws a little bit behind him, but that's a play right there that Todd Pinkston has got to be able to make. It hits him right in the hands, and he picks up the first down there. If he comes down with it, those are the plays that make a difference.
Third and 20. On the Eagle 41. The middle, completes to Staley, tackled shy of midfield, and the Eagles will have to punt. Brian Urlacher on the tackle. Well, early in the game with the first two field goals, the Eagles had things going their way, and then the Bears, on Merritt's 47-yard end around, gave them the spark, and then it looked like the Eagles were taking control of this game, guys, early in the third, and then the interception and score, and the defense holding. And the punt by Sean Landetta. And the fair catch by R.W. McQuarters inside the 15-yard line. With the wind chill down to 21 at Soldier Field, Dick Stockton, Troy Aikman, Darrell Johnston, and Pam Oliver. The Chicago Bears leading 14-13. And Shane Matthews in relief of Jim Miller, who suffered a separated shoulder. So did Marty Booker, but he's back out there at wide receiver, as is Des White, who was dinged earlier. So the injured players, other than Miller, seem to come back. First down at the 12-yard line, and a whistle before the play. Bill Carollo, the referee.
Prior to the snap, false start. 64, offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That was left guard Rex Tucker.
You know what happens here, Dick, is you got a new quarterback, Shane Matthews, here all season long. They've been pretty much used to Jim Miller's cadence, and it's difficult when you're down here in the crowd and then trying to get accustomed to a new quarterback, and there's going to be some problems.
Well, it's been a problem with false start penalties, but that was the first penalty on the Bears today. Anthony Thomas, not much there. Super Bowl Sunday is just 2 weeks away. Catch U2 performing live on the E-Trade Super Bowl 36 halftime show right here on Fox.
It's better than that, Dick. You can see the Super Bowl and U2 at the same venue.
Pretty good attraction as they had in Chicago today. Michael Jordan leading the Washington Wizards against his former team, Chicago Bulls. He's home warm watching this one. Second down and 13, back to the 9-yard line. Bears trying to improve bad field position, but they keep it on the ground. And Anthony Thomas tackled from behind by Carlos Emmons. 1-yard pickup, so it'll be third and long, and that has not been a good sign for the Bears today.
In this defense, one of the matchups that I think everybody was concerned about from the Philadelphia standpoint was how was their front seven going to handle this big physical offensive line of the Bears, and they've done a very nice job this afternoon. And I think they're just carrying over from what they did last week in the playoff game against Tampa Bay.
They're making an equipment adjustment as the Bears get to the line on the Eagles. Third down and 12. Shane Matthews not known for his deep passing. And that one is another not deep pass. Anthony Thomas trying to break a tackle. And Thomas close to the first down. Brian Dawkins will bring him down. And they had to get to the 22-yard line. And it appears close.
It looks like they're going to be a little bit short picking up the first down, and a nice play by Dawkins. First you got Anthony Thomas here. He made some people miss, but then Brian Dawkins bringing down a big guy, and Anthony Thomas almost loses that football, and it would have been a fumble.
The longest completion, Thomas hanging on by Shane Matthews this year, is 34 yards. So you're not looking at a deep threat, and there is Brian Dawkins, who's going to the Pro Bowl despite the fact he didn't get impressive numbers. I think he's claiming that Thomas might have lost the ball.
Well, I don't know that. I think what he's trying to do, Dick, is I think he's talking to the offense. The offense is there getting ready to go out onto the field, trying to get them motivated.
Brian Urlacher is on this punt team right now for the Bears. But Maynard will kick it away, and it's not a good kick. And it is down by Chicago on the Bears' 37-yard line. So Maynard, who was turned by his coach as the MVP of this team in midseason, gets off a 15-yarder that time. Chicago territory there at the 36. Pitch to Terrell Buckhalter off the left side. And Buckhalter picks up 2 yards with McQuarters making the tackle. A shootout, Favre and Warner, Packers and Rams tomorrow on Fox. Should be a beauty, guys.
Well, it really should. And I think if you look at the team that really matches up the best against this St. Louis Rams football team, it would be the Green Bay Packers. This should be an outstanding football game.
And Kurt Warner's voice appeared back to normal, although it was a quiet practice yesterday. Second down and 8 at the 34. Here's McNabb getting pressure, and McNabb is going to go down. The Bears finally get to him. Jerry Azuma with help from Walt Harris. So Azuma has become a standout as a non-starter defensively for the Bears, their first sack of the game.
Watch what Donovan McNabb does at the end of this play, though. He's trying to scramble. He's trying to make something happen. When he realizes he can't, he gets both hands on the football and protects it. He does not allow the Bears to strip him because of the great field position they have right now. They still have a chance for points.
Yeah, what you got is Walt Harris coming off the side, and the Bears were able to get pressure up the middle, which kept Donovan from being able to break contain.
A loss of 6 yards. And now McNabb again with time. Got to watch the running lanes, but he has an open receiver, and it's Jeff Thomason. Thomason with a first down for the Eagles at the 10-yard line. Todd McMillan brings him down, so that's 2 big plays for Thomason in this game.
Well, it's big plays today by the tight ends, Chad Lewis and Thomason. And you see Thomason originally, he was blocking, and then he releases. That's why he's able to get open. Donovan, again, doing a great job of finding the open receivers, always looking to throw the football. Thomason gets off the blocker and gets up inside for completion.
He only caught 2 passes, or 5 passes in the regular season, 2 in this game. And the fake end around, and Deuce Staley charges inside. The whistle did not blow, and so Staley gets another 3 or 4 yards before he is tackled at the 6 by Mike Green, who remains in there for Mike Brown and Keith Traylor. Good persistence by Staley.
I'll tell you what, both Deuce Staley and Correll Buckhalter, this is the way that they run the football. They don't ever quit until they're down, and they just keep going and keeping their legs turning and pick up some extra yards.
Both had really physical runs last week. Deuce Staley's a catch and run for their touchdown. So, yeah, you better make sure that either the whistle is blown or they are on the ground.
Staley lines up to the top, and the pass, touchdown. Deuce Staley, and no one had him covered.
Well, they went to an empty set there, Dick, and nobody went out there with him. He was all by himself. Donovan saw it, gets the ball hiked early, and then throws it to him. You watch Deuce Staley, here he is right here. He splits out. Nobody goes out there with him. It's too late when they realize it. They're trying to get a linebacker at. McNabb recognized it wisely, gets the ball hiked in a hurry, delivers it for the touchdown. Warwick Holtman trying to get out there to cover him, was late getting outside.
So the Eagles regain the lead now, 19-14, and there is Holman talking with his defensive staff. The extra point by Akers is good. And to a lot of people, this is a higher scoring game than people anticipated. The Eagles lead 20-14. McNabb found Staley for 6.
There's Deuce Staley right there. A good adjustment by Donovan McNabb. You had Warwick Holtman trying to get out there, but he was unable to get there in time. And let's remember that Mike Brown is on the sideline right now with that concussion, and he's kind of the quarterback of the defense who sets everything up. Maybe they were able to take advantage of him being on the sideline.
Remember the 15-yard punt by Maynard, of all people. Setting it up, Leon Johnson on the return for the Bears. And good field position. The question is, what do the Bears do with good field position? And back on, Greg Blosch talking to him moments ago.
Well, you heard Moose say before that he took the helmet away from him so he wouldn't get back out on the field. He was trying to. Well, there's a look at Warwick Holtman and talking with Greg Blosch and trying to explain why he was unable to see Deuce Staley split out and go out there with him in coverage.
Shane Matthews. Bears twice have been 3 and out here in the second half. Been a defensive touchdown that gave him the lead momentarily as Anthony Thomas going off the left side, picking up 5 yards on the play. We have had 4 lead changes in this game. The Eagles leading by 6, and the 6 points would have to be those early field goals by David Akers in the first quarter. Winner of this game will face the survivor of tomorrow's Rams-Packers game on Fox in the NFC Championship game next Sunday. The loser, Feeney. Thomas to the 45-yard line, still short of a first down by a yard.
Well, the Bears are sticking with their game plan on what they want to do. They're going to still try to hammer Anthony Thomas up inside and stick with it. No reason for him not to. They're down 6 points, still midway through the third quarter, and they know that ultimately that they need to be able to run the football. They don't want to get into a situation where they have to throw the ball every down against this tremendous secondary of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Jimmy Herndon, a tackle number 74, reports as a tight end. There you see him lined up to the right, and the handoff and a first down, Leon Johnson that time. So getting close to midfield are the Bears, who have not managed much of an offense today. One big play on offense, one big play on defense as they trail by 6, and we wind down to 4 minutes remaining in the third.
Well, this is the point in a football game where that size advantage of the Bears offensive line can start to pay some dividends. They've been pounding at this Eagles defensive front for over half the game now as we get down towards the end of the third quarter.
Des White on the pitch and the wide receiver. So a little more razzle-dazzle by the Bears, and a pickup that time of 15 yards and a first down. Evans downfield as the Bears get to the 41 of Philadelphia, or make it the 37.
Number 81, Ahmad Merritt coming inside, getting a good block, and Rashad Cook maybe got away with a little bit of a hold there, but he's having a nice afternoon today, a guy that was elevated from the practice squad late in the year.
Jim Miller, who got cheered when he came out, separated right shoulder, has not come back in the game. It's been Shane Matthews, and now the handoff and a loss on the play. Anthony Thomas is driven back by a host of Eagles led by Brandon Whiting.
Nice play by Brandon Whiting there, getting penetration. It was a slow developing run play. He was able to get penetration in the backfield, was actually waiting for Anthony Thomas when he took the handoff from Shane Matthews.
Bears in a 2nd and long, 2nd and 12 on the 39-yard line. Line up with 2 wide receivers on the left and Baxter, the tight end, in motion. Now Thomas goes in. There's a wide receiver screen, and it's Des White. And Des White close to the first down. This time to the other side. Jeremiah Trotter, the middle linebacker, on the tackle.
You know, we talked to the Eagles, and the one thing they talked about yesterday that they had to be able to defend was the bubble screen. You see here, 86 Marty Booker putting the block, and then Des White getting up inside, and everything that the Bears do as far as formations, they run that bubble screen, and it creates some real problems for a defense. In fact, that's one of the reasons why the Philadelphia Eagles have not played a lot of man-to-man coverage. It's very susceptible defense to that play, but they got a big gain there in a 3rd and short situation.
3rd and 1. Leon Johnson is the back, and Johnson will have the first down. His feet churning. Leon Johnson, signed in October, gets the first down for the Bears on the Philadelphia 26.
You know, the one thing the Bears have been able to do is they've been able to answer the scores of the Philadelphia Eagles. They go down and they score points, and the Bears bounce right back. They're showing the resiliency that really they've had all season long that has gotten them into this divisional game, and they're doing a nice job of rebounding each and every time Philadelphia does something.
Marty Booker split to the left. First down on the 26, play action for Matthews. He completes it to Baxter, a minimal gain to the Bears tight end. He'll get 3 on the play, and Jeremiah Trotter, he's been all over the field today covering the big tight end.
Well, that was one of the plays that John Shoup, the offensive coordinator, had set up to take a shot down the field. He had Marty Booker one-on-one on a deep post, but good coverage by the Philadelphia Eagles forced Shane Matthews to drop that ball down to his safety valve.
There's a look at John Shoup, and the thing that he wanted to do in this ball game is he wanted to make sure that the Eagles knew that they were playing offense, and they didn't want the Eagles dictating the tempo to this offensive group of the Bears.
2nd and 7, and here is Anthony Thomas trying to go wide, trying to get around Douglas. He does, but not Dawkins, and no gain on the play, and that may be the last play of the 3rd quarter. And it will be, and that is the end of the 3rd quarter with the score, the Eagles 20 and the Bears 14. And this Fox NFL special will continue after a word from your local Fox station. Teams as we start the 4th quarter at Soldier Field. Dick Stockton, Troy Aikman, Moose Johnson, Pam Oliver. The Eagles lead 20-14. It has been a game of shifting momentum, 4 lead changes. Donovan McNabb has thrown 2 touchdown passes. Shane Matthews coming in for Jim Miller, who separated right shoulder, and the Bears scoring on a end-around touchdown run and an interception. And now Chicago looking at 3rd and 7 on the Eagle 23. James Allen into the game for the first time in the backfield and out of the shotgun. And the flip going to Allen. Allen turning the corner, and he is tackled at the 20-yard line after a 3-yard pickup by Derek Burgess, the Eagle rookie defensive end.
That was an incredible play by Derek Burgess, because James Allen had that corner turned and they had it sealed good. That's a defensive end that ran James Allen down from behind.
So here's Paul Edinger trying to bring the Bears to within 3 points. This will be a 38-yard field goal attempt, and here is the kick by Edinger, and the kick is good. So Edinger kicks his first of the day. Akers has 2 for the Eagles, 47 yards for a Bear touchdown.
And that play right there allowed the Bears to go up 7-6. Here's Donovan McNabb making things happen with his feet. Finds Cecil Martin in the corner of the end zone.
And then Jerry Azuma, in typical Bears fashion, with a big defensive play for a touchdown to get the Bears back in front at that point.
So there they are, Andy Reid and Dick Geron, who are both assistant coaches on the original Green Bay Packers staff put together by Mike Holmgren, and it has been a distinguished staff as well. But here they are facing each other, and great respect for one another. And let's take a look at some of the others on Mike Holmgren's 1992 Packer coaching staff. You saw Reid and Geron. How about John Gruden and Steve Mariucci? Rick Losh, who was the defensive coordinator of the Chicago.
Yeah, and Sherm Lewis and Ray Rose, and you look at that group, and it goes to Mike Holmgren, but ultimately it still goes up the tree to Bill Walsh and his influence.
Edinger with the kickoff, and Brian Mitchell at the 15-yard line, returning for the Eagles, and moves it out to the 34. This has been a hard-hitting physical game, as proven by players knocked out of it. Mostly the Chicago Bears have borne the brunt of that. Steam coming out. Wind chill barely at 20 degrees right now.
Mike Brown is checked back into the ball game.
And a first down at the 33-yard line. And there is a pass intended for Thrash downfield and covered by R.W. McQuarters. We'll get complete playoff and Super Bowl coverage at the official source, SuperBowl.com, or America Online, keyword SuperBowl.com. So Mike Brown, who suffered a concussion, back in there at free safety. Everyone but Jim Miller has come back in the lineup after they were knocked out. 2nd and 10 for McNabb. Goes to plan B, and it's through Staley and pushed out of bounds by Urlacher. Staley gets it up to the 41-yard line and a gain of 8.
And this Bears secondary really doing a pretty good job of staying with these wide receivers. When you've got a quarterback like Donovan McNabb who's able to buy time, these corners and safeties have to stay with their guys that much longer, and they're doing a nice job. Right there, they had him picked up, and Donovan had to throw the swing pass.
And another big third down coming up. Eagles need 2. McNabb with a pump fake and looking to run, and he will. He'll get the first down as he walks out of bounds at the 49-yard line. So the legs do it for Donovan McNabb, and the Eagles keep possession.
A nice job of the Eagles picking up the blitz. Brian Urlacher will pull out. You'll see the 2 safeties come in. Deuce Staley picks up the second one. Donovan has plenty of time, but sees that opening to the right side, and he takes advantage of it with enough yards for the first down.
Eagles on their own 49-yard line. McNabb has gained 44 yards rushing on 5 attempts. And Deuce Staley. And Staley gets 2 yards into Bear territory. Last time the Philadelphia Eagles reached the NFC Championship game was back in 1981, the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Oakland Raiders. They defeated the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC title game. They're trying to get there again. 2nd down and 8. Big edge in yardage for the Philadelphia offense. McNabb, and the pass caught for the first down at the 40 by Chad Lewis. How valuable has Lewis been now down the stretch for the Eagles, including last week's wild card game.
Well, he's just given Donovan tremendous confidence. Watch here, Donovan McNabb. Roosevelt Colvin reads it perfectly. Donovan does a great job of making Colvin get off his feet, which then creates a lane. Here's Chad Lewis just dragging across. Donovan finding him, but you're right. Chad Lewis has been able to be the sure-handed guy here towards the end of the season, and has become somewhat of a security blanket, much like he was last year for Donovan McNabb.
On first down, Jamie Reeder, the fullback, on his first carry of the game, and Mike Brown with his first real hit. Brown and Tafoya combined to make the stop. A loss of 1 for the Eagles. They're on the Bear 41-yard line early in the fourth quarter, with the Eagles leading by 3. Greg Blosh, defensive coordinator, who's thought that this week, play football like you did when you were 6 years old. Just go out and play reckless
Well,
ball.
he wanted to keep his players loose and relaxed coming into this game and just play football, and you're right. And Donovan McNabb, escaping the way he is, got to be driving him crazy.
Second and 11, quick toss to Pinkston. And Pinkston picks up another Eagle first down. First reception of the game for Todd Pinkston, with Mike Brown on the coverage.
Well, you can see Brian Urlacher talking to him. Here's Todd Pinkston. There goes the coverage in on the blitz. That's just a nice adjustment and a nice contact eye-to-eye with Todd Pinkston and Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, and what happened was they brought the blitz, as you mentioned. They didn't account for anybody covering Todd Pinkston. A real mess up there by the Chicago Bear defense.
And that's a rarity. They don't normally mess up. First down on the 28. Play action, and the pass throw underneath to Cecil Martin. And Martin driven back, and they'll call the forward progress practically back at the line of scrimmage, with Urlacher and the strong safety Tony Parrish.
Well, this is a great job by Urlacher, because this is a misdirection boot with Cecil Martin coming out. You can see he's got a step on him. But again, the closing speed that Brian Urlacher has to get to the ball is probably the most impressive thing about his ability at middle linebacker.
9 tackles today for Brian Urlacher. He was the defensive rookie of the year last year in the league. And there's McNabb taking a shot. And this play is caught by incomplete. Todd Pinkston could not hold on.
Tell you what, they got the one-on-one matchup that you always like to see, and Donovan threw about as good a ball as you can throw in that situation, giving Todd Pinkston an opportunity. As we take a look, Todd Pinkston's got a step on Walt Harris. It hits him right in the hands. It's perfect, and Todd Pinkston had some problems early in this season coming down with some catches. He improved with that as the season progressed. He won't have a bigger drop than that one right there this season.
As that brings up a 3rd down and 10. Empty backfield, and the toss this time to Pinkston, but he'll be about 3 yards shy of the first down. Mike Brown making the key defensive play, and David Akers will come on to try to give the Eagles a 6-point lead once more.
Well, that was the same play that they went to just a few plays ago, but the Bears doing a good job of making the adjustment. Mike Brown getting over there to take Todd Pinkston out of the slot when they brought pressure off his face.
So Akers 2 for 2 today. This will be a 40-yard attempt. And Akers' kick is good. So Akers 3 for 3 today. And McNabb wondering what it might have been if Pinkston had hold on. But the Eagles now lead again by 6 points. Back at Soldier Field, the Eagles in front 23-17. David Akers with 3 field goals today. The last one from 40 yards out. 11 plays, 45 yards. 8:48 remaining in the fourth quarter. Once again, the Bears need 6. And Autry Denson returning this kickoff. And Denson fumbles. And the ball on the ground at the 32. No official signal yet. Eagles. The Eagles recover Autry Denson's fumble. And Quentin Cable receiver was there at the bottom of the pile. I don't know whether he recovered the ball. It might have been. So Autry Denson.
Well, I think it was Tim Hawk who comes in and just puts a big hit on Autry Denson. Yeah, there he is, number 45. Boom, puts his helmet right on the football.
So the first turnover of the game by the Chicago Bears.
He does a nice job. He's coming in. He's on the opposite side. He's the safety. He's coming across as Autry's moving up. And look at the aggressive move right there as he comes in. And you saw how he put his helmet right on the ball.
So the Eagles get the ball. Good field position on the 35-yard line of the Bears. Hand off to Deuce Staley. And Staley getting back to the line of scrimmage. Damon Moore had an interception earlier in the game, and then the fumble. The Eagles had a turnover as Donovan McNabb's interception returned by Jerry Zuma for a touchdown. Putting pressure on the Bear defense again. A field goal here would make it a two-score game.
There's no question this is a critical drive right here for the Bears to stop them, not only keep it out in the end zone, but keep them from scoring a field goal.
Second down and 10, looking for a receiver, being watched by Traylor, and then Urlacher comes in, and a big loss on the play back to the 43-yard line. That is the second time that the Bears have nabbed McNabb.
You know, Donovan's been making plays all day long and buying himself some time and finding receivers, but you got to know the situation in the ball game. They were in a position to where they only needed a few yards for field goal. Now, by him taking this sack, he knocks himself back to the 42-yard line. They need a big gain here on third down to get themselves back into position, and Donovan's got to know that, and he's got to be able to throw the ball away.
He has been under pressure, even though he's been sacked only twice. He's been hurried countless times. Third down. And this pass caught underneath by Staley, and Deuce Staley driving his way inside the 30-yard line does not get out of bounds. But David Akers is going to come on in for the Eagles, who will try to capitalize on that fumbled kickoff return.
Well, it's a good call by Andy Reid with the screen. The Eagles run the screen as good as anybody in the National Football League, and they're able to get a lot of the yards back to give themselves an opportunity for this field goal attempt.
So it was Denson who coughed it up, and now Akers with a 46-yard attempt. This would be a big score now for the Eagles, and it is good. David Akers now with his fourth field goal of the game, and it is a 9-point lead for the Eagles, 26-17. With 6:28 to go in the fourth here for the Eagles, and David Akers kicking off a little deeper than the last few kicks. Autry Denson, who just fumbled the previous kickoff, on the return and works his way to the 33-yard line. So that is what the Bears need to do. 2 scores to come back in this game. Right now, the Bears on the short end of a 26-17 game with 6:17 to go. Will the magic run out for this team that went 13-3? They are 5-3 when trailing going into the fourth quarter. They will start from the 33. Shane Matthews handing off to Anthony Thomas, and Thomas gets a yard in the play. And you got to go back, of course, to those back-to-back overtime wins, down by 19 in the third quarter against the 49ers. Next week, trailed by 14 with less than 2 minutes to go before winning in overtime against Cleveland. The crowd getting a little testy.
Well, they're getting a little testy because they know it's a 2-possession game right now with under 6 minutes to play, and they want to see this Bear offense open things up and start throwing the ball down the field. Only 12 passes in the entire game so far.
2nd and 7. Matthews backed up. Bill Douglas goes after him, and it is going to be an incompleted pass. Good pressure by Douglas, who had nearly 10 sacks to lead the Eagles this year.
Blake Brockermeyer has done a good job all afternoon. This is really the first time that Hugh has gotten close for a sack, and a little bit of coverage involved there as Shane Matthews was forced to hold the ball.
Yeah, and here's Marty Booker trying to, well, he finds a place. He thinks he needs to be getting the ball thrown to him, and you can see the frustration with him. And it's tough, you know, in Shane Matthews' defense, he's back there trying to find guys that are open, and he's getting pressured by Hugh Douglas. That's tough.
Only 2 catches for Booker, who was out of the game for a while with an injured shoulder. 3rd down and 7. Empty backfield. Pressure coming on Matthews and his pass, and it's incomplete, tipped and nearly intercepted by Brian Dawkins. So 3 and out for the Bears. Marty Booker was the intended receiver downfield and 5:24 to go.
Well, I think what you're seeing is some of the rust on Shane Matthews. He delivers a pretty high ball hard as well in there to Marty Booker. Fortunate that it wasn't intercepted, but this is a difficult team to try to get. See McNabb, he's pretty excited. Pretty excited about things right now, as well he should be, but tough to get into the sync of a game when you haven't played in a while against this Eagles defense.
Brad Maynard with the line drive kick. This one goes out of bounds to the left. Not been an exemplary day for Maynard, but the Eagles have it with 5:17 to go and a 9-point lead. Packer on defense, and in the NFC playoffs, the teams with a bye week have lost only 1 game in divisional contests, and the only loss, the 49ers, losing to the Packers.
Andy Reid, a coach on that staff back in '95 with the Packers.
So he wants to be a part of the 2. The 21 and 2, possibly. 1st and 10 at the 36. Deuce Staley back there in a play action situation for McNabb. McNabb throws it away into the Bears bench. Brian Robinson chasing McNabb. And a flag down. Donovan McNabb playing with fire, doing it with his legs and his arms today. And McNabb coming back to Chicago, where he played in high school in the South Side. Touchdown passes out to Cecil Martin. And the Eagles leading by 9. The flag. And Bill Carollo.
Ineligible player on the passing team early downfield, number 63. That penalty is declined. 2nd down.
I think you watch what the Eagles did there on 1st down, coming out and throwing the football, and I think that just typifies what Andy Reid is all about. You got a 9-point lead with 5 minutes to play in the game, and on 1st down, he's still throwing the football and risking stopping the clock.
2nd and 10 at the 36. Now they'll run it. Deuce Staley. Staley to the 39, gain of 3. Urlacher making the play. Well, tomorrow, the other half of the Fox battle. It'll be the Green Bay Packers against the St. Louis Rams, the number 1 seed. Can anyone beat the Rams? The big question. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Favre, 11 straight playoff games with a touchdown pass. Warner, 6th player in league history to win more than 1 MVP, and Marshall Faulk, an NFL record 4th straight 2,000 total yard campaign. Big names, big marquee game between the Packers and the Rams.
What a tremendous accomplishment by Marshall Faulk, and I think any team that wants to beat the St. Louis Rams, you've got to find a way to defend Marshall Faulk, and he can just hurt you in so many different ways. It'll be a huge challenge for that Packer defense.
Well, I think you know so much talk about Brett Favre, and he's playing in a dome, but I think he's going to play well. I think that Packer team's going to play well. I think it's going to be a heck of a ball game.
Bears using a timeout, their first. 3rd down and 7. Deuce Staley of the carry, and he'll be short of the 1st down by 2 yards. Colvin and Holdman, the outside Packers, in on the play, and the Bears call their 2nd timeout, and a flag comes down. Another late flag. With just under 5 minutes, and Roosevelt Colvin slow getting up. Bears hit with several injuries this afternoon. Most notable, Jim Miller, their quarterback. This will be a personal foul against the Eagles. Miller going out with a separated shoulder in the first half, and Shane Matthews taking over. Duran never gets angry. At least we don't see practice when we're not there, but we've never seen him that angry even on the sideline this season.
No, I think he keeps a pretty even keel with his ball club at all times, and that really, the team always tends to feed off of the head coach, and that's one of the reasons why these Bears never really get flustered. They always feel like they're in the ball game regardless of the circumstances.
Well, Colvin is on his feet. Urlacher marching around without his helmet.
Well, they're trying to figure out what to do, whether to accept the penalty and have it go back, or
because it's fourth down.
Yeah, or decline it and try and get the ball back on the next play.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 69, kicking a player. That penalty is declined.
Sure.
Result of the play is going to be fourth down.
Well, that's John Runyon again, and you know, I'm all for playing aggressive and all that, but this is just, take a look at him there. You got John Welburn who's trying to get him out of there. I didn't see a kick.
And they get the timeout back as well. They had called their second timeout. They get it back. They still have two. So Sean Landeta back to punt. With 4:56 on the clock, the Bears need 2 scores. And Landeta kicking this one to Leon Johnson. Hemmed in, down he goes at the 20. Good coverage that time by Damian Douglas of the Eagles. Well, the Bears are on the 20, and they need 2 scores with Shane Matthews, who really hasn't taken much of a shot downfield yet.
Well, Shane Matthews has been in this situation before, as we talked about earlier, midway through the season, and the comebacks that he had against the San Francisco 49ers and the Cleveland Browns, and it's going to take another effort just like that. And I would think that they're going to go into a no-huddle offense here. They need 2 scores without a lot of time to do it, and I would expect them to see in the 2-minute mode and start trying to push this ball down the field, something that they have not done so far in this game.
Well, James Allen, a good receiver as a back, lines up as the tailback on first down, and Matthews dragged down by Hugh Douglas. And that is the second sack by the Eagles and the first by Douglas today.
Well, James Allen was working that side, and he just goes out into the swing route, and you got Hugh Douglas at the bottom working against Blake Brockermeyer. He gets no help from James Allen, and as a result, Hugh Douglas goes right around him. That's a tough project there on Blake to try to hold him back.
And this pass to Des White, incomplete. Carlos Emmons, remember that Shane Matthews forced to play because this injury to Jim Miller, got knocked out with a separated shoulder in the first half.
Yeah, this was the interception that Hugh Douglas then turns around and puts the hit on Jim Miller, which every defensive player will do on a quarterback. It didn't look like it was a vicious blow, but it was enough. It separated Jim's shoulder.
So now it's 3rd down and 19 for the Bears. Shotgun, empty backfield, back at the 12, and this pass is intercepted, and it's Rashard Cook, and he will go out of bounds. So the season's slipping away for the Chicago Bears as Rashard Cook intercepts a Shane Matthews pass. That is the 3rd turnover by the Bears. 2nd interception, Miller threw the 1st.
Well, I don't know that Shane Matthews is getting a whole lot of help here. The ball, obviously not a good throw, and no chance for Baxter to make the play. Rashard Cook gets the interception, but when you come out and you don't come out balanced offensively against this Eagles team, and you just try running the football, and you don't really try to start throwing the football until you get behind, and the defense knows that's what you have to do to get back into the ball game, that is tough duty for that offensive line, and it's very difficult for a quarterback to sit in there with that kind of fine guys against a defense like the Eagles.
Deuce Staley on the run to the 15-yard line, and Staley getting down to the 7. It's a first down for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they took the 6-0 lead early. The game went back and forth. Twice the Eagles had their lead shaved. Bears took a 14-13 lead, and they have been in control in the second half in this game and headed for the NFC Championship game, leading by 9.
They really have, and they responded very well after that interception by Jerry Azuma that gave them the lead when they were about ready to take control. So a tremendous job for the Eagles maintaining their composure at that point of the second half.
First and goal at the 7-yard line. Here's Deuce Staley going outside, and he is knocked down.
Well, he does a great job there of staying in bounds and keeping the clock running. Chicago calls a timeout, but really a heads-up play by Deuce Staley, not running out of bounds and going on the ground to keep the clock going and forcing Chicago to call their timeout.
The Eagles already starting to feel good and celebrate a critical win and their second playoff win this year. Well, tonight's game has been produced by Richie Zients and directed by Artie Kempner. The associate director, Greg Scopatoni, and our broadcast associates, Jacob Ullman and David Naval. The associate producer, Fran Morrison. The technical director, Rich Vasili. The technical producer, Dean Walker, and the audio mixer, Jeff Cohen. The pregame show is produced by Scott Ackerson. And the executive directors of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. And the senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown, and we want to thank our crew with another terrific job. Second and goal at the 5. Under 3.5 to go. Quarterback draw, and a touchdown for Donovan McNabb. And how sweet it must be for McNabb, who grew up in Dalton, in the south side of Chicago. And in his first start in Soldier Field, he had one previous appearance, and it was unspectacular. He was knocked for a loss back in '99, leading this team to what appears to be a healthy victory.
And here he comes right at you. Good job by Hank Fraley getting out in front of him and screening Brian Urlacher from getting in on that play. And that is an area on the field where the mobile quarterback, the quarterback draw in this area is so difficult to defend in the red zone. And there you see Hank Fraley doing a good job of getting right up on Brian Urlacher immediately.
Well, we talked about Donovan McNabb and how relaxed he was last night coming into this ball game and excited about playing in front of his home folks. And he has really played well the last 3 weeks here, and tonight another outstanding performance by number 5, Donovan McNabb. Well, it might have been the peach cobbler, that Moose, I saw you enjoy last night when Wilma, Donovan McNabb's mother, prepared the
well, they might have to bring Wilma on the road next week to wherever they're going to be traveling to, because that home cooking might have had something to do with today.
Well, from everything I understand about Wilma, I'd be surprised if she's not wherever they're playing next week.
Well, Donovan McNabb throwing for 2 touchdowns and running for the other. The Eagles leading 33-17. And this will be the last game at Soldier Field as we know it. New stadium. Well, the new stadium at Soldier Field, scheduled to open for the 2003 regular season. What's important is that the historic colonnades and south wall will remain untouched. It'll be built within the existing exterior. Sidelines will be improved. Sideline seating will be increased. But, it'll never really be the same. The Soldier Field, a magical place, host to so many other sporting events. When you open it up, it's really a 125,000-seat stadium. They had high school games for years here. And next year, the Bears will be playing at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana at Memorial Stadium next year and in preseason the year after before they have the new stadium. But the Eagles looking forward to their new home in 2003 themselves. And a terrific effort today on the road. This team has lost only once all year away from home. David Akers kicking off, and Autry Denson Returning for the Bears, and Jensen runs it out to the 37-yard line with 3:10 on the clock.
You know, you see Donovan McNabb right there, and the excitement and the celebratory congratulations going on over there on the sidelines, and as good as they feel over there, as well they should. They're getting an opportunity to go on and play in the championship game next week. I can tell you on the other side of the field, the Chicago Bears, after the season that they had, a very empty feeling. You see Jim Miller right there, and very much looking forward to being a part of this game, and for him to go down with a separated shoulder and not get to finish what he started, extremely disappointed. These guys will go into this offseason with a very hollow feeling in their stomachs.
You're absolutely right. Shane Matthews on first down, and the pass caught by Des White. And he stays in bounds, cannot get out of bounds. You're right. You can't say, well, we won the division 13-3. We had a good year anyway. No, this is a team that expected more than what they got at the end.
Well, everybody talks about getting into the tournament and playing, but ultimately there's going to be one team at the end of this year that's happy, and the rest of them are going to be disappointed. But that first loss for the Bears in the first game is extremely difficult, especially when you work so hard to get home field advantage in a first-round bye and get into that divisional game.
James Allen within a yard of first down at the 41-yard line of the Eagles. And this pass is incomplete, intended for James Allen. And so the Eagles were leading 13-7 at the half. Bears took a 1-point lead, and then in the second half.
And that's been the thing you see there, just the 11-play drive with the field goal, but other than that, some 3 and outs, the 2 plays before the interception last time. They have just not had any opportunity to get in any type of offensive rhythm this second half. And again, the Philadelphia Eagles did a good job of maintaining their composure when they had the big interception for the touchdown by Jerry Azuma.
Here's Allen diving to the 38-yard line. So several 3 and outs, several 2 plays, and then the turnover. As we wind down to the 2-minute warning, the Bears will try to get off another play. Trailing by 16 points. Pass by Matthews is caught by David Terrell, the first-round draft pick out of the University of Michigan, his first catch of the game. Timeout, 2-minute warning, and we'll be back.
The NFC Divisional Playoffs on Fox are brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
And there is an elated and delighted Jeffrey Lurie. It wasn't easy early when he took over the Philadelphia Eagles. And he looks like he found the right guy to run this club, huh?
Well, he has, and Andy Reid. But let's not forget Joe Banner, who's played a big role in getting these players signed. And they look like they're going to be in this thing for the long haul in years to come.
No question about it. 2-minute warning, second down and 3. And there is the pass thrown out of bounds. And go back to draft day. You remember when the fans booed Donovan McNabb's selection. They wanted Ricky Williams. They got Donovan McNabb, who was the only first-round pick left among the playoff teams when it all started in the NFC, and delivering, again, his 3 best games with the 3 last games.
And I think it was interesting to hear Andy Reid talk about the fact that, he's only in his second season as a starter, and he's only going to continue to get better. So, as Troy pointed out, this is a franchise that's really stabilized itself. It's got a lot of their key players signed for the next 3 to 4 years. So this is just the beginning of good things, and the plan that Pam Oliver talked to Andy Reid about definitely starting to take shape.
David Terrell with the catch and a first down. 1:40 to go, and here is Shane Matthews. And this pass batted down Derek Burgess, and a fumble, and it's recovered. Intercepted, was thrown and tipped and picked off.
The ball was batted. Carlos Emmons looked like he was on the ground and was able to come down with it for the interception. A better look at it. Shane Matthews making the throw, and Derek Burgess, I hit him right in the stomach.
Threw it right at Burgess.
Carlos Emmons right there to make the interception.
That's a low throw. So 1:35 to go. The Eagles will take over. We want to thank our associates in the booth. Chris Visser, our spotter. Dave Corus, our statistician. as the Chicago Bears end up this year in a fizzle. There was so much enthusiasm and hype coming into this game for the Bears. Their first playoff game at Soldier Field in 10 years. But it wasn't to be.
I think that's the important thing for the city of Chicago and the Chicago Bears fans is to come back next season as the season begins with the same enthusiasm that you came to the stadium with today for this football game. Nobody expected Chicago to be in the position that they're in this afternoon or have the type of season that they did. It'll be important for these fans to get right back on their side when the season starts next year.
And, of course, the point of the lack of experience of playoffs. The Eagles playing their fourth playoff game. Last year they beat Tampa Bay, lost to the Giants. Now they beat the Bucks. And now they beat the Bears on the road. And we have another big game tomorrow. The Philadelphia Eagles will now know they'll play the winner of this game. The Rams and the Packers tomorrow. Warner against Favre. Kurt Warner's voice has come back, but it was a quiet practice yesterday. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific on Fox. The NFC Divisional battle between Green Bay and St. Louis.
And that's going to be a heck of a ball game regardless of who the Eagles end up playing. If you think back to the first game of the season when the Eagles played the St. Louis Rams and what a dogfight that was. Rams had to play very, very well to get out of there with a close victory. And so I don't think of either one of those two teams, being the Green Bay Packers or the Philadelphia Eagles, are a team that the Eagles are going to shy away from. I think they're going to go into that game with the same kind of confidence that they came in with this game. We just saw Andy Reid there, and he's the guy who really sets the tempo for this ball club and continually gets them at a level that they can come out and compete. He's done a tremendous job in the short time that he's been the head man here in Philadelphia.
Well, Pam Oliver in our pregame show said he had a plan. They all talked about it, Troy Vincent and the rest, and the plan is working right now.
Well, it all started last week in the victory over Tampa Bay, not the celebration that they had the previous year when they beat Tampa Bay. They wanted more. They expected more. And they came out here to Chicago on the road and have done a tremendous job.
The Eagles giving up one offensive touchdown. That's 5 touchdowns that their defense has given up in 9 road games this year.
And I don't know that still this Eagles defense has gotten the credit that they really deserve. You still don't tend to mention them when you're talking about the top defensive football teams in this league. But Jim Johnson, the defensive coordinator for that club, he does a tremendous job each and every week of coming up with different schemes, different blitzes, and you talk to these offensive coordinators, and not only John Shute of the Chicago Bears, but offensive coordinators around the league, and I don't know that there's a defensive coordinator that has as much respect around the league as what Jim Johnson does.
You know, he did not probably blitz as much today as we've seen him in other games.
No, he did not, and a lot of that was because of the Bears and their running game and some of the things they do with their bunch packages. They did not use as much man-to-man. They did not blitz quite as much as what he normally does, but they still were able to be very effective, did a heck of a job.
There's Troy Vincent, who suffered the groin pull and came out. And, of course, if the Eagles have any kind of a chance against the Rams or the Packers, they're going to need their best cornerback in there, which is Troy Vincent, against either Brett Favre or Kurt Warner. The Eagles calling a timeout now with 7 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, it was 4th down, so they went ahead and called the timeout. Now they're going to make a decision as far as what they're going to do here on 4th down, whether they're going to try to punt it or maybe even run out of the end zone or try to run out this clock. But I think if you look at Troy Vincent and talking about his injury, there's no question that he's going to be needed in next week's ballgame. You just hope that maybe Andy Reid was conservative with his approach and kept him out of this one in hopes that he wouldn't aggravate it any worse to keep him from playing next week's championship game.
Sean Landeta will come out and punt as the celebrations continue on the Eagles side. Bears losing for only the 2nd time at home this year. The only other loss was to the Green Bay Packers. So Donovan McNabb with a victorious homecoming today to Soldier Field. Landeta on the 5-yard line. No one will even bring up the fact that he whiffed on a punt against the Bears for the Giants and will run into the end zone, take the safety. with 1 second, and now time has run out. Well, a lot of machinations going on, guys, just for those final seconds with a 16-point lead, which ends up 14. But Donovan McNabb and the Philadelphia Eagles have won their second playoff game, beating the Chicago Bears by a score of 33-19, and Andy Reid with a victory against his former assistant coach mate at Green Bay, Dick Geron. And the Eagles have advanced to the championship game for the first time since 1981. They beat the Dallas Cowboys, went on to the Super Bowl, and lost to the Oakland Raiders. And Harold Carmichael played in that game, and so did Ron Jaworski under Dick Vermeil back then. But the Bears are denied, and will have to settle for a division title and 1 and out.
You can just tell on the faces of the Eagles players and coaches that this is all business. Hey, yeah, we're happy that we won today, but you can see exactly what they talked about after that Tampa Bay victory last week. They know that their work is long from done right now, and in their minds mentally, they're getting ready to find out who they're going to play next week.
That's exactly right, Moose, and they came into this ball game, as we talked about after visiting with them last night, a very confident group. They were confident coming in. They felt that they were going to win the game, and you can tell by the reaction of these players that they're not surprised by the outcome in this. They know that there's a bigger challenge for this club next week.
And this is the most points given up by the Chicago Bears this year. 31 had been their previous high. So 33-19 the final score. And usually when the Bears scored 13 points, it was enough to win. They were 13-0 when they scored 13. Now they have a blemish.
Well, you can't expect to win games too often in this league scoring 13 points. They were able to do that in the regular season. They were playing on borrowed time if they felt that they could do that again today, and Philadelphia was just a little too much for them.
Right now, let's go down to the field to Pam Oliver.
All right, here with Andy Reid. Andy, I know you're very businesslike in your approach to the whole thing, but you've got to be pretty thrilled to be one step closer to the Super Bowl.
Well, it's exciting. You know, it's a great compliment to the players and coaches. They did a nice job of getting the guys ready and the players playing, and that's what it's all about, Pam.
You didn't do too bad yourself. Thanks a lot, Andy. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much, Pam. So Andy Reid, in his third year, brings the Eagles to the NFC Championship game. Troy, Moose, yours truly will be back here at Soldier Field in just a moment. The Eagles advance, eliminating the Chicago Bears 33-19 here at Soldier Field. And a few moments ago, Pam Oliver caught up with Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb.
All right, thanks a lot. Big timer must have been Mom's home cooking. How exciting was this for you to do this in front of your own home crowd?
Well, it was very exciting. Have my family and friends here, and also have the guys that were very excited. You know, you can just tell just about a week of practice. I think our experience definitely helped us from last year. So the team in which we played hard, and they got a future ahead of them, and they're probably going to be just like us we were last year. And being in this situation, they're going to learn from it, have a little bit of experience, and they may take it far next year.
How nice is it to be just one step closer to the Super Bowl? Your goal, your dream as a kid.
You know what? I'm trying not to even focus on the big picture. I'm just going to enjoy this win, and then when it comes down to it, focus on whoever we play next, and just focus on that, and not worry about what happens after that.
All right, go enjoy it.
Thank you.
Well, it's post-mortem time right now, and Moose, everyone's talking about McNabb, but there was another side of the ball for the Eagles as well.
Yeah, there really was, and I think a lot of people, the Philadelphia fans, were concerned about that matchup, the Chicago Bears running game versus the one area of their defense that's been questionable all year. They did a great job today. You take away that big reverse by Ahmad Merritt, and they really shut down that Bears running game.
What about the Eagles and what it all means for them? They know that their mission is not done, Troy.
Well, that's right. And you look at this football team and what they did at the end of the season against the Giants, and what they did last week in the wild card game against the Buccaneers, and now tonight against the Bears. This is a football team that's starting to peak at just the right time. That's what you want to be doing when these playoffs, playing exceptionally well. Donovan McNabb playing as well as he's played all year.
And I think you're right. That Giant game was a big one. So the Philadelphia Eagles have advanced in a physical game today against the Chicago Bears. Donovan McNabb, as expected, the key man. Right now, let's send you back to our LA studios and James Brown. JB.
All right, Dick, and on Fox tonight, when police raid a drug dealer's hideout, you'll be shocked at what they find. On Cops, see how your tips brought down this accused child predator. All new America's Most Wanted, and it all starts at 8, 7 Central tonight on Fox. And don't forget, tomorrow the NFL's postseason continues here with the NFC Divisional Playoffs, a crucial battle when Brett Favre and the Packers try to slow down Kurt Warner and the Rams in St. Louis. The playoffs continue tomorrow on Fox, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, right here on Fox. As we welcome you back to the Fox Network Center, and we just saw that the maturation of Donovan McNabb continued, winning a big game on the road, and the fact that he is the offensive weapon that the D keys on makes it much more significant, Terry.
It's amazing that he's the one weapon you want to stop. Everybody knows it. It has been ever since he's been in Philadelphia. Now he and Chris, he keeps doing it time and time again. And the maturation process, I don't know. I think he's already crawled up into the elite status.
I agree with you, TB. And I tell you, Michael Jordan returned to Chicago today, but by far the most impressive homecoming was Donovan McNabb coming back. And you hate to say anybody's a one-man show, but by golly, he is pretty darn close to it right now. An amazing performance today.
Yeah, and I think you look back to the New York Giant game at the end of the year, and I think that was the game that Donovan McNabb really arrived this season. And Troy Aikman pointed out he's played about as well as you can play a quarterback towards the end of the year. The difference is now he's running to throw, and he's not running just to run. He ran for about 200 yards behind the line of scrimmage, causing problems for the defense.
Could I just have a little love between JB and Chris Collinsworth right now?
Despite the gravy remarks, I love you very much.
I love you, brother.
What can I say? Scott Atkinson, our producer.
Sorry, Mom.
Hey, folks, we'll see you tomorrow, as Terry mentioned, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific, right here on Fox.
Thank you for watching this presentation of the National Football League. The NFL is online at www.nfl.com.